Chapter 142. Yang Tian had never expected that the black-armored person would actually be a woman. After the woman took off her helmet, she swung her long red hair. She had an angelic face and a head of enchanting red hair. She was so alluring that Yang Tian's heart instinctively fluttered. After casually tossing the helmet aside, the black-armored woman said to Yang Tian, "My name. Translate. Your name." Yang Nancy. The black-armored woman told Yang Tian her name. This name was very peculiar and pleasant to the ears. What was even more pleasant was her voice. It sounded very gentle. Yang Nancy, now that I have defeated you, can you answer some of my questions? Yang Tian looked at Yang Nancy's beautiful face and was stunned for a moment before asking with a smile. Yang Nancy shook her head. Then don't even think about leaving this place. When he saw Yang Nancy shake her head, the smile on Yang Tian's face disappeared. His expression turned gloomy as he spoke coldly. One must know that Yang Tian was feeling very anxious. Yang Nancy was silent for a moment before she looked at Yang Tian and said, "Our Jade Sun tribes rules. Now, I am your woman." Yang Nancy spoke more fluently than before. However, the meaning behind her words made Yang Tian widen his eyes in shock. Become his woman? Such a beautiful woman, no matter what kind of man, would want to have her. However, Yang Tian didn't have such thoughts right now. His newly married wife had been kidnapped by Yang Nancy. Although Yang Tian already knew that Qin Fei was a princess and had returned to her country, Yang Tian was still worried. Yang Tian smiled bitterly. "I don't need you to become my woman. I just need you to answer some of my questions. It's that simple. Can you not be so stubborn?" "No." Unexpectedly, Yang Nancy's reply was very firm. "If I don't become your woman, I will violate the oath." "I made oath? What oath?" Yang Tian asked curiously. Yang Nancy looked at Yang Tian with a resentful gaze and said, "Every member of our Yang clan is born to be a qualified bounty hunter. We don't have a country. Every adult member of the Yang clan will make an oath at the right time to find their master and pass down the bloodline of the Yang clan to the next generation. The women of our Jade Sun clan, no matter which race they are with, give birth to offspring. Their offspring will all have red hair. This is the symbol of our Jade Sun clan's bloodline." After Yang Nancy finished speaking, Yang Tian understood what she meant. He smiled and said, "You can choose not to abide by this oath. Just now, you said that you would do it at the right time. I feel that under these circumstances, it is not appropriate." Yang Tian tactfully refused. Creak, creak, creak. At this moment, the little blue dragon ran over and jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder, letting out an excited cry. Little Qing returned to her 1-foot-long appearance, turning into a small, fat dragon. Xiao Long told Yang Tian that he could accept such a beautiful woman. There were many benefits. Benefits? Yang Tian knew that there were benefits, but there would be more trouble in the future. He was not a man who only cared about the lower half of his body and did not consider the consequences. "If you don't accept me, then please let me leave immediately." Yang Nancy looked at the little blue dragon on Yang Tian's shoulder. Seeing the determination in Yang Tian's eyes, she knew that the man in front of her was not willing to accept her. "Let you leave? No." Yang Tian shook his head. "Then accept me," Yang Nancy said. "Otherwise, for my dignity, I will burn myself." After Yang Nancy finished speaking, she raised her head and stretched out her arms. A cold wind blew, and Yang Nancy's red hair danced in the wind. Zizi zizi. Immediately after, blue lightning appeared on Yang Nancy's black armor. It flashed continuously and made ear-piercing sounds. Yang Nancy's feet left the ground, and her entire body floated in the air. At this moment, 2 drops of blue liquid flowed down from the corner of Yang Nancy's eyes. These seemed to be tears. Yang Tian saw that Yang Nancy's clear blue eyes were filled with reluctance to leave this world. Back then, Yang Tian also saw this fleeting gaze in Fengda's eyes. "Suicide? It can't be." Yang Tian was alarmed and hurriedly said, "No, Okay, I promise you. At the critical moment, Yang Tian finally made a decision. At this moment, he could not let this woman die. Otherwise, Yang Tian would be like the other level 9 warriors and plunge into that mysterious door. What awaited him would be an unknown outcome. With this woman, he could at least know a lot of useful information and be prepared. Bang! When Yang Nancy heard this, her feet landed on the ground. However, she still opened her arms and looked at Yang Tian with an expectant expression. All right, I've been defeated by you. Yang Tian gritted his teeth and said, I've never seen a woman as stupid as you. Yang Nancy finally laughed. Ka ka ka. At this moment, the armor on Yang Nancy's body suddenly moved and made a series of ka-ka sounds. Then, piece by piece, it fell from her body. Yang Nancy, who had removed her black armor, was actually naked. Looking at Yang Nancy's strange body, Yang Tian was stunned and his face turned red. Zizi, the little blue dragon, cried out twice and used its 2 claws to cover its eyes. It even turned its body. Yang Nancy's body could be described as strange because other than her red hair, blue eyelashes, eyebrows, and other places, there was no hair. Her body was as white as jade and incomparably smooth. As for her figure, it was like a beautiful girl who had walked out of cartoon world. It was simply too beautiful. Yang Tian glanced at it and turned his head. He waved his hand at Yang Nancy and said, Now that I've seen you, you're my woman. Hurry up and put on your armor. Yang Nancy nodded. Ka ka ka. Another series of ka ka sounds rang out. When Yang Tian turned his head, he realized that Yang Nancy had already put on her black armor. This process was like a ritual for the two of them. Yang Tian let out a long breath and said, Now, you should tell me something, right? Yes. Yang Nancy nodded. Then, she walked towards Yang Tian. Yang Tian quietly looked at this beautiful woman and stood there without moving. At this time, Yang Tian was still on guard against Yang Nancy. Who knew if this was a way for this woman to leave? Originally, the two of them were a few meters apart, but soon they were very close to each other. Yang Tian could feel the breath that Yang Nancy exhaled. Yang Tian looked at Yang Nancy's flawless face and frowned as he said plainly, Tell me everything that I want to know. You should know what I want to know. It wasn't that Yang Tian was unhappy with Yang Nancy, but at this moment he felt pain all over his body. This was the after effect of using the Dragon Ball's power, after it had circulated through his body at a rapid speed. This pain was much better than when he first used it. Yang Nancy saw that Yang Tian seemed to be unhappy. She stared at Yang Tian with resentment and slowly raised her hand. Crack! With a soft sound, the glove on Yang Nancy's hand quickly changed shape and retracted back into the vambrace. This set of black armor was like the armor that Iron Man wore in the movies from 100 years ago. It could be expanded and retracted at will. The glove was removed, revealing Yang Nancy's beautiful hand that was as white as jade. Yang Tian frowned as he looked at Yang Nancy's eyes with caution. This palm quickly came into contact with Yang Tian's cheek. Yang Tian could feel the smoothness and warmth of her palm. Hiss! Suddenly, Yang Tian took a deep breath. But Yang Nancy suddenly took a step back. Her actions were very fast. Yang Tian raised his hand and touched his stinging cheek. When he placed his hand in front of his eyes, he realized that there was a trace of blood on his hand. Just now, Yang Nancy had used her fingernail to scratch Yang Tian's face when Yang Tian wasn't paying attention. In the end, he still fell for this woman's trick. He felt a numbing sensation on his face, and it quickly spread throughout his body. Yang Tian knew that he had been poisoned, and he was filled with regret. Squeak! The little blue dragon, who was waiting for Yang Tian to make a fool of himself, stared coldly at Yang Nancy and cried out with a threatening tone. The little blue dragon had been lying on Yang Tian's shoulder. From what it saw, Yang Nancy and Yang Tian were just exchanging feelings. It didn't expect that Yang Nancy would take the opportunity to hurt Yang Tian. At this time, the formation plate next to them began to spin faster and the blue light became brighter. This was the sign that the teleportation had been activated. As for Yang Tian, he felt powerless. At this time, even the little blue dragon wouldn't be able to stop Yang Nancy from leaving. Yang Tian's heart was filled with regret. He admitted that as a man, he had indeed been bewitched by Yang Nancy. Yang Tian looked coldly at Yang Nancy and once again used the power of the dragon pearl in his body, hoping to expel the poison in his body. However, he quickly realized that it was useless. Instead, his body became hotter and his mind became muddled. Yang Nancy didn't even look at the formation plate. Instead, she looked at Yang Tian and said with a bitter face, "We Yang people will not use such despicable means to hurt others. We only need to fulfill your promise." Huff, 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 as the poison in his body. No, perhaps it was the spreading of the medicinal effects. Yang Tian's breathing became hurried and his mind became muddled. Ka ka ka. Once again, Yang Nancy opened her arms and the black armor on her body fell to the ground. Her beautiful body appeared in front of Yang Tian once again. Creak, creak. The little blue dragon, who was originally preparing to attack Yang Nancy, saw this situation and cried out excitedly. It jumped down from Yang Tian's shoulder and ran behind a piece of broken ice to hide. However, it obviously wouldn't miss out on what was about to happen. It stuck out its head and looked at the two of them curiously. Previously, Yang Tian was embarrassed when he saw Yang Nancy's body. However, now, his breathing became hurried and his eyes couldn't help but stare at Yang Nancy's body. He used his gaze to scan every inch of her skin. CK, this medicinal effect is too strong. Yang Tian cursed in his heart and collapsed to the ground. Yang Nancy used her hand to smooth her hair that was messed up by the wind. She walked elegantly towards Yang Tian with her long, slender legs. I don't know if the readers will like this kind of plot. Considering that most of the readers are male, let's add some material. The rest of the story is mostly about battles and adventures. Let me clarify that the plot on Earth isn't over yet. After that, there are even more exciting parts. There are all kinds of strange races in the universe, strange beasts, mysterious star regions, and so on. The setting of a universe in this book is not the usual sci-fi environment that emphasizes science and technology. Instead, it emphasizes cultivation with science and technology as a supplement. Chapter 143. Even on Earth, each race had their own habits, customs, and beliefs, not to mention those races that were more numerous outside of Earth. Yang Nancy, choosing Yang Tian to be her man, seemed to be one of them. Yang Tian did not understand. But at this moment, he was stimulated by the medicine in his body and had no choice but to do something that went against his wishes. Pung! Yang Nancy came in front of Yang Tian, squatted down, and lifted Yang Tian up. She then pushed Yang Tian onto the ice. The layer of ice that was hit by Yang Tian's body immediately began to crack like a spider web. Next, Yang Tian felt a burning hot body pressing against him, pressing tightly against his body. Pung! Yang Tian hugged Yang Nancy and flipped her over, pressing her under his body. He did not know where Yang Tian got his strength from, but half of Yang Nancy's body had sunk into the ice. Not far away, the little blue dragon shrunk its neck when it saw this. He did not know if Yang Tian and Yang Nancy would be traumatized when they were doing this after an hour. Phew! Yang Tian let out a long breath and got off Yang Nancy's body. At this time, Yang Tian felt his entire body relax. The depression that had been accumulating in his heart and the irritation in his body seemed to have disappeared. No wonder the ancients were so particular about the balance of yin and yang. There was a reason behind it. In this 1 hour, there was a lot of commotion. The two of them seemed to have gone crazy. The ice was filled with marks left behind by the two of them rolling around. On the hard ice, there were craters created by the huge force. It was also because the two of them had very strong bodies that normal people could not compare to. That was why they could play like this. Seeing Yang Tian get up, Yang Nancy also sat up. She was not like other women who needed to lean on a man's body to enjoy the comfort. Instead, she stood up and walked to the pile of scattered black armor and stretched out her hands. After a series of cracking noises, the broken pieces of armor covered her beautiful body once again. As for Yang Tian, he picked up his shorts and tattered trousers and put them on before sitting down on a piece of broken ice. To the two of them, this was the completion of a true ritual. After putting on her armor, Yang Nancy walked to Yang Tian's side and sat down on the ice as she said, "Now, I'm already your woman." At this moment, Yang Nancy's face was still a little red. Yang Tian glanced at Yang Nancy before turning his head away. At this moment, Yang Tian felt a sense of guilt in his heart. Although he was passive, he still felt that he had let Qin Fei down. Yang Tian seemed a little cold, but Yang Nancy didn't mind. He said slowly, "In this universe, Earth is actually an exiled planet." Yang Nancy spoke very slowly, but his speech was much smoother than before. He wasn't as stuttering as before. Yang Tian listened quietly. Yang Nancy continued, "You humans are the descendants of those powerhouses who were exiled a long time ago. In order to not let the exiled people live so freely on every exiled planet, there would be many powerful beasts exiled, which are what you call mutated beasts. After many years, whether it was humans or mutated beasts, the power hidden in their bloodlines gradually died down. Humans relied on tools to occupy a dominant position on this planet. However, later on, when the mutated beasts activated the power hidden in their bloodlines, they returned to the beginning. Those ancient powerhouses all died." After Yang Nancy finished speaking, Yang Tian asked. Yang Nancy shook her head. "The exiled planets can't trap those powerhouses. There are many of them. Perhaps they have already left." "Then what's with this disc array?" Yang Tian asked again. Yang Nancy said, "This is a monitor. It is used to monitor the exiled planet's paths. Looking at the time on it, it has long passed the time limit. However, the disc array is not damaged and is still operating." At this time, Yang Tian was a little surprised at Yang Nancy's language talent. It had only been a few hours. Yang Nancy could already speak fluently. "What about Qin Fei, who was taken away by you? I need to know her exact situation." Yang Tian said again. Yang Nancy said, "She is the eldest princess of the Lan Chen Empire. Her name is Lan Qian. When she was just born, the Lan Chen Empire was in chaos, and she was taken here. Actually, when you touched the disc array, you were already noticed by many forces. After the chaos in the Lan Chen Empire subsided, the Lan Chen Empire's king, Lan Jing, offered a high reward for the princess's whereabouts. We found her. Now, she has been brought back to the Lan Chen Empire. Don't worry, as the princess of a country, she is very safe." Yang Tian nodded and finally felt relieved. He raised his head to look at the sky. He didn't know how far away he was from Qin Fei, but he must find her. In his heart, Yang Tian secretly swore. Yang Tian calmed down and turned to look at Yang Nancy and asked, "After passing through the transmission disk, where's the door?" Yang Nancy said, "That is actually the passage to the Death Starfield. If you want to leave the exile planet, you must pass through there. In fact, the exile planet also gives the exile planet a path to freedom. The special sound from the disk array can guide the exile planet to that place. If you pass the test of the Death Starfield, no matter how big your sins were, you can redeem yourself. However, for a very long time, no one was able to pass through there." "Then how did you get here?" Yang Tian frowned and asked. Yang Nancy smiled and said, "Because we have a spaceship. It's very simple." Yang Tian scratched his head. Yang Tian quickly began to worry about the level 9 martial artists who left Earth, such as his grandfather Qin Jingyang. He didn't know where the so-called Death Starfield was, but it was definitely very dangerous. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that there was no chance of survival, right? Seeing Yang Tian's frown, Yang Nancy knew what Yang Tian was worried about. She said, "Actually, not being able to pass through there doesn't mean that you are dead. That place is actually a world of exotic beasts. If you didn't risk your life to barge in, you could still live well. It's just that you are trapped, and the living environment there is worse than the exiled planet." Yang Tian was slightly relieved. There were still many questions, Yang Tian asked again, what about beast cores? Why can they increase our strength, speed, and reflexes and let us surpass ordinary people? Yang Nancy said, beast cores are a special kind of energy that can be absorbed by you and make you stronger. But to us, beast cores are no use at all. Speaking of becoming stronger, Yang Tian asked curiously, what is your method of becoming stronger? Us, Yang Nancy said, consuming stellar crystals is a kind of energy mineral that can be directly absorbed by living beings. However, it's not unlimited. You have to constantly fight to develop your potential before you can consume more stellar crystals. Yang Tian didn't need to ask again. Yang Nancy continued, other than stellar crystals, there are many other ways to become stronger. Some races directly consume the bodies of other races to obtain energy. The beast race is like this. In the universe, the strong are also divided into different levels. The lowest level, like me, is a normal meteor star warrior. After that, there are meteor star generals. After that, there are meteor star kings, meteor star lords, and meteor star domain lords. After meteor star, there are planet star, star star, superstar, and above that are great star lords and great star gods. Great star gods are already invincible existences in the universe. Of course, these levels are translated in your language. Yang Tian did some calculations. Meteor star warriors, meteor star generals, meteor star kings, meteor star lords, and domain lords. There were 5 levels of meteor star, followed by planet star, star star, superstar. Including great star lords and great star gods, there were a total of 27 levels. Yang Tian had been able to defeat Yang Nancy, so he reckoned that his strength could only be considered meteor star generals. There were still 25 levels after that. Martialists on Earth thought that level 9 martialists were already at the top. However, they hadn't expected that in the vast universe, level 9 martialists could only be considered meteor star warriors. They were at the bottom of the hierarchy. Do you have any other questions? Yang Nancy asked while Yang Tian was still in a daze. Yang Tian raised his head and looked at Yang Nancy's pretty face. After thinking for a bit, he asked, what is this star beast that you guys are talking about? Yang Nancy glanced at the little blue dragon beside her and said, star beasts are a branch of the beast race. They have a very powerful bloodline inheritance and are usually very rare. However, it is very strange for a star beast to appear here. However, the realm of the star beast is at most a battle general of the meteor star level. Creak. Upon hearing Yang Nancy's words, the little blue dragon let out 2 dissatisfied cries. At this moment, Yang Tian recalled the long dream he had after drinking the water that the little blue dragon had soaked in the Dragon Ball. He felt that the little blue dragon's identity wasn't that simple. Chapter 144. Any other questions? Yang Nancy asked again after answering Yang Tian. Yang Tian shook his head. Indeed, there are no more questions. A long time had passed between the two of them, and the formation plate by the side lit up once more. Then goodbye, I'm leaving. Unexpectedly, Yang Nancy looked at Yang Tian and said goodbye to Yang Tian. You're leaving? Yang Tian was surprised. Yang Nancy nodded. I've answered your question. You should let me go. But Yang Tian was reluctant. Yang Nancy smiled. Don't worry. The women of the Jade Sun race will only follow one man. Now, I have something to do. I know you don't like me. Staying by your side will make things difficult for you. Why did you choose me? Yang Tian asked. Yang Nancy said, because I think highly of you. Your bloodline is very special. Actually, I don't have any feelings for you. Yang Tian said, you can stay for a while. I want to learn the language of the outside world from you. Yang Nancy smiled. That's simple. I'll leave you something. You humans call it high-tech. After speaking, Yang Nancy opened her vambrace and took out something less than a centimeter in diameter and length. She placed it in her palm and handed it to Yang Tian. Yang Tian reached out and took it from Yang Nancy's palm. Looking at it, Yang Tian didn't understand. Yang Nancy pointed at his ear and said, put it in your ear. It can translate for you. Actually, when you reach the level of a meteor star warrior, your memory is already very strong. Even without it, you will quickly learn the language of the outside world. Yang Tian nodded and held the translator in his hand. Young Nancy picked up her helmet and quickly stepped into the teleportation array. Goodbye. Yang Nancy stepped into the teleportation array and smiled at Yang Tian. Jade's son. Yang Tian was stunned. When Yang Nancy disappeared, he could not help but stretch out his hand, wanting to make her stay. However, at that moment, Yang Tian could not find a better reason. At this moment, Yang Tian was very conflicted. This was also human nature. For men, their first woman would always be unforgettable. After Yang Nancy came down from the formation plate in the tunnel, he smiled and gently stroked his abdomen. Then, he put on his helmet and walked towards the light. Unknowingly, the mask on her helmet had been restored to its original state. It was indeed a high-tech item. At this moment, no one could tell that she was a woman. The invisible wall at the exit of the tunnel did not affect Yang Nancy, so she walked out directly. When she walked in front of the white, mysterious door, Yang Nancy turned around and looked at the entrance of the tunnel. She knew that not long later, Yang Tian would definitely enter here. At that time, Yang Tian would face the test of the Death Star field. My man will definitely become a universe powerhouse in the future. After saying this in the language of Earth, Yang Nancy turned around and walked into the white background. Vast martial planet, Lan Chin Empire. In a spacious room. Not bad. You have already activated the bloodline power in your body and can use it. Your current realm is already the domain lord of the starfield. Are you happy? A black-clothed middle-aged man with long hair stood in front of Qin Fei and asked with a smile. At this moment, Qin Fei was even more beautiful. Because of the great power, her skin became better and more lustrous. She was also more spirited. Qin Fei nodded vigorously. Thank you. I want to know who you are. The long-haired, middle-aged man smiled. Didn't I say that when the time is right, I will naturally tell you? Qin Fei nodded somewhat helplessly. Tell. At this moment, light footsteps sounded from outside. If it was before, Qin Fei wouldn't have noticed. However, now, she could tell that the footsteps were about 30 meters away from the door. Someone is here. I will leave first. The middle-aged man said softly to Qin Fei and disappeared in a flash. When he left, there was not even a trace of air current. Soon, a maid appeared outside the door. Your Highness, the king invites you to the main hall for a discussion. The maid said outside the door. I understand. Qin Fei said indifferently. Qin Fei pursed her lips and looked at the blue sky outside the window. She helplessly turned around and walked towards the door. During this period of time, other than following the mysterious middle-aged man's request to cultivate, Qin Fei spent the rest of her time thinking about Yang Tian. Even in her dreams, she dreamt of Yang Tian. She dreamt of the days when she was in middle school with Yang Tian and taking a walk in the woods. Qin Fei missed Yang Tian very much now. Whenever she was alone, she would feel very lonely. Before the ceremony that day, the king, Lan Jing, was still full of expectations for Qin Fei and was very enthusiastic about her. She would come to visit Qin Fei every day. However, Qin Fei hadn't seen her biological mother for a long time now. In the main hall, the king of the Lan Chin Empire, Lan Jing, was wearing a wide and beautiful robe as she sat on a high seat. A handsome and tall, silver-haired young man was sitting on a seat below the stage. This person had sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes. He exuded a heroic aura, causing the princesses opposite him to look at him with affection. However, this young man ignored them. The maid who went to report to Qin Fei quickly returned and whispered a few words in Lan Jing's ear. Lan Jing nodded. Fourth prince, please wait for a moment. The eldest princess will be here soon. The maid turned around and bowed to the young man before leaving the main hall. A few minutes later, Qin Fei appeared from the side door of the main hall. After seeing Qin Fei, the young man smiled and immediately stood up. His eyes were filled with joy as he looked at Qin Fei. Seeing the appearance of this fourth prince, The princesses of the Lan Xun Empire opposite him quickly became cold as ice. Their eyes were filled with resentment as they looked at Qin Fei. "Your Highness, eldest princess." The young fourth prince bowed to Qin Fei and said, "The two of them should be of equal status." However, this fourth prince bowed to Qin Fei. His affection was obvious. Qin Fei bowed to this fourth prince as a return of the bow. Qin Fei wore a blue dress. Although she didn't wear any makeup and didn't wear any gorgeous jewelry, her pure aura made people's eyes light up. Qin, this is the fourth prince of the Purple Chun Empire, Zi Shu. Lan Jing introduced to Qin Fei. After returning to the Lan Qin Empire, Qin Fei's name was Lan Qian. Lan Jing also called her Qian. Qin Fei nodded to Zi Shu. "Qian, you're not young anymore. Mother has already promised the fourth prince to betroth you to him. What do you think?" Lan Jing looked at Qin Fei and asked. Although it was a question, Lan Jing's tone was filled with the intention of not allowing any objection. "Mother, I'm already married. My man's name is Yang Tian." Qin Fei said to her biological mother in front of her again. Qin Fei had already told her about this matter. After hearing Qin Fei's words, Lan Jing immediately frowned. She felt that this daughter of hers who had left home for many years was really too disobedient. In this kind of situation, Qin Fei's words made Lan Jing lose face. Zi Shu, who was below, smiled awkwardly. Lan Jing sighed and said, "What man do you have? Your body has never been touched by a man." Qin Fei didn't know how her biological mother saw through it. She lowered her head embarrassedly. Those bounty hunters came too punctually. If they came a day later, she would have become Yang Tian's woman. Qin Fei felt very regretful about this. Becoming Yang Tian's woman was like Yang Tian wanting to marry her. "It's settled then. You may leave first." Lan Jing glanced at Qin Fei and said in an unquestionable tone. Qin Fei didn't even bow. She turned around and left the main hall. From the beginning to the end, Qin Fei didn't even look at Zi Shu. After Qin Fei left, Lan Jing said to Zi Shu in an apologetic tone, "Qin'er is still very young and doesn't know anything. When we reach the Purple Chun Kingdom, she will naturally understand everything." "Yes." Zi Shu smiled and nodded. "Send someone to find out which planet the First Highness once lived on, Star of Exile." After leaving the main hall and returning to the guest room, the fourth prince, Zi Shu, spoke to a young guard in purple armor. "Yes," the young guard replied, and immediately turned around to leave. "Yang Tian." Zi Shu muttered Yang Tian's name with hatred in her eyes. Sometimes, two people who had never met would hate each other. Of course, there was a reason for this. During the ceremony that day, the fourth prince had already fallen in love with Qin Fei. However, later on, he hadn't expected that the first princess would give up the throne of the Blue Qin Kingdom. This had made him very happy. Men were merciless when it came to love rivals. "Uncle, my mother is forcing me to get married, but the person I like is Yang Tian. Furthermore, the two of us have already gotten married. We are only one step away." After Qin Fei returned to her residence, the long-haired middle-aged man quickly appeared before her. Qin Fei said in distress. During this period, Qin Fei had been calling this long-haired middle-aged man uncle. The long-haired middle-aged man didn't object to this title. "No one can force you. Don't worry, when the time comes, The long-haired middle-aged man chuckled. "What method do you have?" Qin Fei asked curiously when she saw how confident the long-haired middle-aged man was. Qin Fei knew that she was still a domain lord of the Falling Star domain. It was impossible for her to leave this place even if she was a planetary domain lord. The reason why an empire existed was because there were a large number of experts. In the Blue Chan Kingdom, there were many stellar domain lords. This was what this uncle in front of her had told her. You will know when the time comes. You have to believe, uncle, I am a Star Lord." The middle-aged man smiled and said proudly, "Among the Star Lords, there are Star Lords, Star Lords, Star Lords." Qin Fei knew that this uncle was definitely not a Star Lord. Then what Star Lord was he? Chapter 145. I'll correct a problem here. In the previous chapters, I wrote that the little blue dragon was a heavenly beast. Now, I changed it to star beast because I typed it wrongly. I've changed it. Dad, Mom, I'm back. In Hero City, Yang Tian called out to his parents excitedly after seeing them through the villa's gate. Yang Tian felt very guilty for making his parents worry for a month. When he came back, Yang Tian had already informed his parents. Yang Lin and Wang Hong were anxiously waiting for him. Seeing Yang Tian come back with messy hair and shabby clothes, Wang Hong's tears flowed out. Yang Lin's eyes were red. He only patted Yang Tian's shoulder and did not say anything. Xiao Fei, Dad, where's Mom? Yang Tian asked. Yang Tian wanted to say where are Xiao Fei's parents, but he knew that he and Qin Fei were already married, so he had to change his words. They're in the house, Yang Lin said. The three of them entered the villa. Qin Fei's mother, Shui Yu, and father, Qin Yunlong, were sitting on the sofa. Dad, Mom, Yang Tian immediately shouted when he saw the two of them. Xiao Tian, you're finally back. Sit down and tell us about Xiao Fei and your grandfather. Qin Yunlong stood up and pulled Yang Tian to sit in front of him. Compared to their biological parents, Qin Yunlong and Shui Yu, who were martial artists, were calmer. However, things had already come to this point. There was nothing they could do, even if they were anxious. Xiao Fei is fine. Grandfather, he should be fine too. Yang Tian told his parents the news that Yu Yang and Si told him. He only said that he caught a black armored person and asked for information. He was so guilty that he did not even dare to mention that the other party was a woman. Is this news reliable? After Yang Tian finished, Qin Yunlong frowned and asked, It should be reliable. That person has no reason to lie to me. Yang Tian nodded. Qin Yunlong sighed and said, Alien civilization really exists. Yes. Yang Tian nodded and said, Moreover, the experts of the extraterrestrial civilization are much stronger than us. Our human level 9 martial artists are only at the meteor warrior level in the extraterrestrial civilization, which is the lowest level of existence. They also look down on us, the descendants of exiles. After that, everyone fell silent. They all understood that human warriors were considered strong on Earth, but in the universe, they were only considered trash. Moreover, they would be looked down upon by alien races. It was no wonder that the leader of the Black Armored Men had said that the humans on Earth were inferior life forms. In their hearts, they were lowly existences. Even if the top human powerhouses had the strength of a meteor star warrior, the Black Armored Men were still not a match for them. After a moment of silence, Qin Yunlong asked, Little Tian, what do you plan to do next? Yang Tian glanced at his parents and said, I came back this time to see you, and then I'll pack up and go back to Antarctica again. Soon, I'll go find little Fei and Grandpa. Going to the extraterrestrial civilization? How far is that? Wang Hong said worriedly as soon as Yang Tian finished speaking. At this time, Yang Tian was very distressed. His parents only had one son. If he left, there would be no one to take care of his parents. Although they were still young and not old, they would feel very lonely without their children by their side. Yang Tian thought for a moment and said to his parents, I might be gone for a long time this time. Why don't you have another child? In fact, this was something that Yang Tian had been thinking about for a long time. Yang Tian's parents were still very young. Plus, their bodies had been strengthened, so their biological functions were better than the average 20-year-old young people. After Yang Tian finished speaking, he looked at his parents with a serious expression. Yang Lin and Wang Hong's faces turned red. They did not expect Yang Tian to say this at this time, and in front of their in-laws. They felt a little embarrassed. Unexpectedly, Qin Yunlong looked at Yang Lin and Wang Hong and said with a smile, Actually, little Tian's idea is not bad. We are warriors and don't have time to take care of children. You are different. You can think about it. Hee hee. Yang Lin laughed awkwardly. Seeing the embarrassed looks on Yang Lin and Wang Hong's faces, Yang Tian, Qin Yunlong, and Shui Yu all laughed. The sad and gloomy atmosphere faded a lot. Phew, it was time to leave. Yang Tian left the villa accompanied by his parents. In the courtyard, the unicorn white snow flapped its wings and suddenly landed. Yang Tian walked up and patted the unicorn's back. Master Yang, the things are ready. At this time, Butler Wu Fong walked out of the garage with a big backpack and handed it to Yang Tian. Although Qin Lao had left, he was still the butler of the Qin family. As soon as the unicorn returned, Little Condor, who had been staying in the backyard, walked over. Little Condor's eyes did not look as sharp as before. Qin Lao had left for a long time, and this little guy was very sad. Yang Tian looked at the two beasts that were not as energetic as before, sighed, and said, "Uncle Wu, from now on, you'll have to take care of these two." Wu Fong nodded. "Don't worry. I promise that they will live well." "Thank you." Yang Tian smiled. Wu Fong waved his hand. "We are family. Don't mention it." When he returned, Yang Tian's hair was messy and his clothes were ragged. At this time, he had clean short hair and was wearing a black t-shirt and sturdy jeans. In fact, Yang Tian was quite envious of the smart armor that Yang Nancy was wearing. That kind of armor should be a high-tech item, and the material was not bad. At that time, when Yang Tian's sword broke through Yang Nancy's mask, he felt a strong resistance. It proved that the armor's material was very tough. That kind of armor looked like something that was mass-produced. There must be better ones. Also, Yang Tian guessed that Yang Nancy had something that could store a large amount of things. It could be taken out and placed at will, similar to the legendary storage space. Yang Tian remembered this question now and regretted that he forgot to ask at that time. In a place where there was no one, the little blue dragon transformed again, turning into a giant dragon that was more than 10 meters long. Yang Tian sat on the little blue dragon's back. The little blue dragon, carrying Yang Tian, flew directly to the south. This time, there was no hurry. The little blue dragon flew very slowly. Yang Tian turned on the warrior auxiliary device and sent the message that he was about to leave to Xiao Fei and the others. During this time, Xiao Fei, Zhou Hao, and the others sent Yang Tian messages asking about him. After knowing that Yang Tian was fine, they were relieved. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon once again returned to the ice valley in the Antarctic continent. At this time, a fierce cold wind was blowing. The traces from before were all covered by the ice particles that were blown by the cold wind. The disk array was still there. The surface part of it was rotating around an axis in the center, emitting a faint blue light. The fourth prince of the Purple Star Empire sat in a huge spaceship that was shaped like a giant beast and left the capital of the Blue Star Empire, Star Vast Marshall Planet. "Your Highness, we have found the exile planet." The fourth prince, Zishu, was standing in front of the window, admiring the beautiful starry sky. A young guard in purple armor walked over and reported. Zishu turned his head and asked, "Where is it?" The guard replied, "The records of that exile planet have been destroyed. We can't find it on the public coordinates. However, we found the path to that planet." Zishu sneered. "Order the first hunting team to set off. Go there and kill the humans on that planet. Destroy them completely." "Yes," the young guard replied without hesitation. Once Zishu gave the order, the tens of thousands of members of the first hunting team, whether they were resting or cultivating, immediately returned to their resting cabins. After they returned to their resting cabins, they immediately took off their soft clothes and stood on a pentagonal platform that was about 1 foot tall. Ka-ka-ka. The pentagonal platform split open and a series of ka-ka sounds could be heard. Soon, purple armors were automatically put on their bodies. After putting on their helmets and masks, they took their weapons and equipment from the weapons rack in the room. This hunting team was incomparable to the bounty hunter team that Yu Yang and Nancy were in. The tens of thousands of members of this hunting team were well equipped. They had weapons of different lengths, and there were even more special equipment. Under Zishu's orders, tens of thousands of well-equipped soldiers were about to go to Earth and massacre the humans. Chapter 146. In the eyes of the fourth prince, Zishu, the humans on the exiled planet were like ants. If they were destroyed, then so be it. "Your Highness, there are a total of 10,011 warriors from our race. Among them, 9,800 are quasi-meteor level warriors. The rest are 200 meteor level warriors, 10 meteor-level generals, and 1 meteor-level Star King. As for the humans on the exiled planet, the strongest, according to the information we have, they are called Level 9 warriors. Level 9 warriors are equivalent to meteor-level warriors, and there are less than 100 of them. The 10,000 warriors of our purple star race will be able to flatten the entire planet in a short amount of time. After the 10,000 warriors of the purple star race had gathered, the young guard returned to Zishu's cabin and reported. Zishu looked out of the window and smiled. Remember to bring Yang Tian's body back after you're done cleaning up. I want to let Her Highness know that her so-called man is just a piece of trash. Yes, the young guard bowed. Actually, in the entire universe, there weren't many strong people. For example, in an empire of 100 billion people, the number of quasi-meteor-level warriors was about 1/1000, which was about 100 million. Meteor-level warriors were about 1/10,000 of the population, which was about 10 million. Meteor-level generals were about 1/1000. Meteor-level Star Kings were about 500,000, and meteor-level Star Lords were about 100,000. As for the planetary level, star level, and super-level warriors, there were only a few tens of thousands of them. Among them, there were only a few dozen people who were above the super level. Of course, the ratio mentioned above was just an approximate number. It was fluctuating, but it wasn't too far off. The number of elites in a race was actually proportional to the amount of resources the empire had. Empires with rich resources would have a higher ratio of elites. This was because elites didn't work in production. They focused on increasing their realm and fighting, so they needed to be supported. The Purple Star Empire had a population of tens of billions, with tens of millions of quasi-meteor-level warriors and millions of meteor-level warriors. This time, Zishu had ordered more than 10,000 people to be mobilized. It was only a tenth of the forces he had on hand, but to the humans, it was already a destructive force. This was because the strength of a Meteor Star Warrior was equivalent to a level 8 martial artist on Earth. 200 Meteor Star Warriors were equivalent to a level 9 martial artist. There were also 10 Meteor Star Generals who were equivalent to a level 10 martial artist, and 1 Meteor Star King who was equivalent to a level 11 martial artist. What about the humans now? The number of level 8 martial artists was less than 500. As for level 9 martial artists, there were only a few left on Earth. The difference in strength was too great. Set off. Zishu came to the cockpit of the giant spaceship and gave the order. Immediately, a huge spaceship left the mothership and flew into the distant starry sky. This spaceship that had separated from the mothership was shaped like a long and flat triangular body, and its exterior was painted a light purple color. Zishu looked at the spaceship outside the window until it suddenly accelerated and disappeared in a flash. Only then did she look away. Yang Tian looked at the disc array in front of him and felt a little impatient. He wanted to immediately go to that mysterious door and reach another world. Although the door was the Death Star region that Yang Nancy had mentioned, Yang Tian did not have any fear in his heart. It would have been fine if he did not know about the outside world, but now, Yang Tian felt that Earth was too small. He wanted to go to a wider world and see more powerful martial artists. Although he was eager, he still needed to be prepared. For example, before he set off, he needed to increase his strength once again. Yang Tian took out 2 level 10 beast cores and prepared to consume them to increase his realm to level 10. With the power of the Dragon Ball, he should be equivalent to a level 11 martial artist. If he were to be compared to those extraterrestrial martial artists, he should be considered a Meteor Star King, right? After calming down, Yang Tian casually sat on the ice and picked up a level 10 beast core and put it into his mouth. Less than a minute after the level 10 beast core entered his stomach, Yang Tian felt a powerful energy rising from his stomach and turning into a hot current that spread throughout his body. This energy was even more rapid and powerful than the energy of a level 9 beast core. Yang Tian focused his mind and controlled the Dragon Ball in his chest to start absorbing this massive energy. In the Dragon Ball world, the Dragon Ball was a small that emitted a colorful glow. After it started absorbing the 9-colored level 10 beast core's energy, the glow it emitted became even more colorful. The little blue dragon, who was lying on the side, looked at Yang Tian and the surrounding situation. Then, it suddenly burrowed into Yang Tian's backpack. There were many other beast cores in Yang Tian's backpack. Before Yang Tian had gone to Hero City, he had obtained close to 100 beast cores. Now, including the beast cores he had received as gifts, he had about 200 beast cores. Nowadays, beast cores were also a kind of gift between warriors. These beast cores were piled up in a large pile. More than half of them were handed over to Steward Wu for him to arrange. This was also what Yang Tian had prepared for his parents so that they could live more comfortably. Now, Yang Tian's backpack had more than 50 beast cores of various grades. All of them were level 5 and above. Among them, there were 2 level 8 beast cores and 12 level 7 beast cores. After burrowing into Yang Tian's backpack, the little blue dragon also began to devour the beast cores. Unlike before, it had to hold the beast cores and chew them slowly. This time, it directly swallowed them one by one. In a few minutes, the little blue dragon had swallowed all the beast cores and burrowed out of Yang Tian's backpack. After swallowing a large pile of beast cores, the little blue dragon's belly still didn't swell, and there were no special changes on its body. At this time, it began to look around vigilantly to prevent exotic beasts and other people from disturbing Yang Tian. Half an hour later, boom, in Yang Tian's Dragon Ball world, a 9-colored light suddenly lit up. A lightning-like thing struck a Dragon Ball in the middle that was emitting a 9-colored light. This was the first time that Yang Tian had encountered such a strange change. As soon as this lightning appeared, there was the sound of thunder. Yang Tian was startled and almost interrupted his absorption of the level 10 beast core's energy. Yang Tian knew that it was best not to interrupt the process of absorbing energy. He continued to control the Dragon Ball and focused on absorbing the 9-colored energy flowing in his body. Boom! Soon after, the Dragon Ball world lit up again. A lightning appeared and made a roaring sound. Yang Tian was already mentally prepared at this time and wasn't as panicked as before. The third, fourth, fifth, every 10 minutes or so, the lightning would appear once. After the 8th lightning, Yang Tian frowned and suddenly opened his eyes. Not enough energy. Yang Tian once again encountered the same situation that he encountered when he swallowed the level 8 beast core. At this time, he felt that he only needed a little bit more energy to complete it. However, this little bit was probably not enough to swallow a level 9 beast core. Chapter 147. Fortunately, there was still a level 10 beast core. Yang Tian also put the remaining beast core into his mouth. After more than a minute, powerful energy rose from his stomach again, just in time to connect with the energy that was about to be exhausted. Boom! After more than 10 minutes, the 9th lightning finally appeared. Within Yang Tian's Dragon Ball world, it let out a loud roar. This lightning was very strong. Yang Tian felt that his mind was shaken. He almost lost his 5 senses, and his body became somewhat numb. Squeak! The little blue dragon seemed to have heard the sound of thunder in Yang Tian's body. It looked at Yang Tian with shining eyes and excitedly cried out twice. Its voice was full of joy. In Yang Tian's Dragon Ball world, the point that emitted 9 colors suddenly emitted a strong light. This point suddenly changed and scattered, forming a slowly rotating spiral cloud that emitted 9 colors of light. This cluster of clouds looked like a galaxy. In the universe, galaxies of this shape were all over the universe. Most of the galaxies observed by space telescopes were of this shape. Compared to the galaxies outside, the galaxy in Yang Tian's Dragon Ball world was more beautiful because it emitted 9 colors. Boom, boom, boom. This cluster of 9 colored spiral clouds that looked like a galaxy made Yang Tian feel incomparably heavy as it rotated, giving him a strong pressure. Yang Tian had the illusion that he heard the sound of it slowly rotating. At this time, the little blue dragon outside scratched Yang Tian's right wrist with its claws, and blood flowed out from the wound. The little blue dragon used its claws to scratch its forehead again. In the blink of an eye, a bright red bead of blood emerged from the little blue dragon's forehead, followed the little blue dragon's cheeks, stuck to the dragon's beard, and finally dripped down the dragon's beard and onto the wound on Yang Tian's wrist. As soon as this drop of blood came into contact with Yang Tian's wound, it immediately soaked in and flowed along Yang Tian's blood circulation system to his whole body. This drop of blood was very bright. After the little blue dragon finished doing this, its eyes were dispirited and listless. Obviously, this time, the little blue dragon consumed a lot of its energy again. If it was before, the little blue dragon would definitely lie on the side and close its eyes to rest. But at this time, Yang Tian hasn't woken up yet. It could only force itself to stay alert and constantly look around to keep watch for Yang Tian. As soon as the dragon's blood entered his body, it fused with the energy emitted by the level 10 beast core and changed the cell structure of Yang Tian's body at an extremely fast speed. At this time, Yang Tian suddenly felt that his body was hot and had a very powerful strength. This kind of strength seemed to be able to move a mountain. Of course, this was just an illusion that Yang Tian had after suddenly obtaining such a powerful strength. Yang Tian also understood very well. He no longer thought about anything else and focused on the situation in the Dragon Ball space. Not long after, the spiral 9-color cloud in Yang Tian's Dragon Ball space suddenly sped up. At this time, Yang Tian's heart suddenly relaxed. Just now, the heavy nebula was like a huge stone pressing on his heart, making him feel a little breathless. This is finally good. However, it's not done yet, because more than half of the power of the second level 10 beast core has not been absorbed by Yang Tian. After Yang Tian's heart relaxed, he continued to use his mind to control the rotating cloud to absorb the energy of the level 10 beast core. Time passed by minute, more than an hour later. In the Dragon Ball world, the 9-color cloud that had absorbed enough energy suddenly sped up its rotation speed again and shrank towards the middle, getting smaller and smaller. Finally, it condensed into a dot. At this time, the dot was no longer 9-colored and no longer emitted light. It had become a pitch-black dot. This point looked like a small black hole that could devour everything in its path. When this black hole was formed, the remaining power of the level 10 beast core was attracted by this black hole. Before Yang Tian withdrew his mind, suddenly, it rushed into Yang Tian's Dragon Ball space. So painful. This was what Yang Tian felt at this time. This was 10 times more painful than when he used the power of the Dragon Ball to quickly circulate it in his body. Previously, when Yang Tian sensed what the little blue dragon was doing to him, he did not stop it because he knew that the little blue dragon would never hurt him. At this time, he finally knew that little blue used its energy to strengthen his body. Otherwise, Yang Tian estimated that his body would be cut into pieces by the energy that was rapidly circulating in his body. Forcefully enduring the pain, Yang Tian gritted his teeth and persevered. Fortunately, this pain did not last for long. Half an hour later, when the remaining energy of the level 10 beast core was completely absorbed, the process of the black hole absorbing energy also stopped. Xiaolong, thank you. Yang Tian opened his eyes and looked at the little blue dragon lying beside him and said very gratefully, "Squeak, squeak." The little blue dragon weakly called out twice and responded, then immediately closed its eyes and fell into a short sleep. Yang Tian held the little blue dragon in his arms. Looking at the little blue dragon sleeping in his arms, Yang Tian let out a long breath. Yang Tian raised his left hand and looked at the warrior auxiliary device on his left wrist. It showed that only 12 hours had passed since he swallowed the first level 10 beast core. It was actually only half a day. The process of increasing his realm this time was actually shorter than the last time. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the ice valley, the cold wind became fierce, blowing until the sword stuck in the side made a trembling sound, but Yang Tian's heart and body were hot. The next day, squeak, squeak, Yang Tian closed his eyes and was in a light sleep. At this time, the little blue dragon's cry sounded. Yang Tian opened his eyes. After 10 hours of rest, the little blue dragon finally recovered its spirit. Yang Tian looked at the little blue dragon who jumped out of his arms onto the ice surface and smiled happily. Yang Tian pulled out the sword that was already frozen and stuck to the ice and waved it. Snow slashing sword. Yang Tian suddenly shouted softly. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The sword in Yang Tian's hand turned into white lines, cutting the ice particles in the cold wind. At this time, Yang Tian's movement speed was at least 1/3 faster than before. If an ordinary person stood and watched from a distance, they would find that Yang Tian's body was constantly flashing, and sometimes there would be 2 or 3 Yang Tians. This was because Yang Tian's movement speed was too fast, and when Yang Tian's figure flashed, it was not like before, where there would be a puff-puff sound of air braking. After practicing the sword technique, Yang Tian let out a long breath. Seeing that the wind's speed had weakened, he carried a large backpack, went behind a huge piece of ice, and began to roast meat. The little blue dragon had just helped Yang Tian a great deal, so Yang Tian had to reward it. Chapter 148. Yang Tian took out some charcoal and a small stove from his backpack. Behind a large block of ice, Yang Tian lit up a small stove. The small amount of natural gas that came with the stove started to burn. Yang Tian added some charcoal bit by bit. After the charcoal was ignited, Yang Tian turned off the gas. The little blue dragon rushed to the edge of the sea and dived into the sea. After a while, it dragged out a white fish that was 1/2 meter long and weighed more than 20 kilograms. The fish was still alive and was dragged to Yang Tian by the little blue dragon. Yang Tian knocked the white fish's head with a knife and killed it. He then took out a dagger and scraped off the white fish's scales and cut off pieces of meat. He put the shredded fish into a small bowl and sprinkled some seasoning. Yang Tian took out a thin metal skewer from his backpack and skewered the fish on the stove. The fish was easily cooked, and in less than a minute, it emitted a delicious aroma. The little blue dragon lay on the side and drooled as it stared at the barbecued meat in Yang Tian's hands. Seeing the little blue dragon's greedy look, Yang Tian smiled and handed the barbecued fish to it. The little blue dragon ate very quickly, and Yang Tian kept busy. After eating more than half of the fish, the little blue dragon was satisfied. At this time, its stomach was filled with more than 10 kilograms of fish. Yang Tian looked at the satisfied little blue dragon and smiled happily. From the outside, this was a rusty red planet. Suddenly, a flat, triangular spaceship appeared outside the planet's atmosphere. After this spaceship appeared, it directly rushed into the planet's atmosphere. This was the spaceship sent by the Zichan Empire's 4th prince, Zishu. This red planet was located in the center of the Death Star field. Most of its surface was made of red rocks, and the plants that grew there were also red. Even the lake water was red. This was because the water was filled with red algae. Poof! Poof! The ragged Qin Jingyang waved a short knife in his hand and killed the 2 red beast ants. There were a lot of these beast ants on the Crimson Flame planet. The reason why they were called beast ants was because these creatures looked like ants on Earth. However, they didn't have hard shells, and their bodies were covered with red fur. The beast ant also had 6 legs. This peculiar creature was a combination of the characteristics of beasts and insects on Earth. It was a social creature, and the largest group of beast ants was about thousands of them. The division of labor in the colony was detailed, similar to that of ants. The mother ant in charge of reproducing the young ants was the leader of the colony. An adult beast ant was about 1 meter long. The 2 beast ants killed by Qin Jingyang were adult beast ants. Looking at the corpses of the 2 beast ants, Qin Jingyang smiled. He finally had 2 to 3 days' worth of food. Boom! Right at this moment, a rumbling sound rang out in the distant sky. Qin Jingyang raised his head and saw a gigantic spaceship diving toward him, heading toward a gigantic platform not too far away. The platform was a gigantic pyramid built with the rocks on this planet. It was thousands of meters tall and had 6 sides. Qin Jingyang had come out from one of the doors on one of the sides. It was easy to come out, but it was impossible to go back. The situation that he encountered was the same as Yang Tian. He was blocked by some kind of energy shield at the exit. Moreover, this huge pyramid would rotate every once in a while. The 6 sides are almost exactly the same, and each side had 9 entrances. That meant that even if there was no obstruction, the chances of him going back were very small. Looking at the gigantic spaceship, Qin Jingyang frowned and then sighed. He looked very helpless. When he was on Earth, Qin Jingyang was like all the other level 9 martial artists. They were all high-spirited. But now, he could only stay on this planet that they called the Crimson Flame Planet. He was barely surviving, and he had to deal with the horrifying creatures on this planet from time to time. Take these beast ants, for example. Normally, they would leave their nest in groups of 2 or 3 to look for food. It was very easy to deal with them. The attack power of these creatures was only equivalent to a level 5 or 6 Ultra Beast on Earth. But if there were too many of them, Qin Jingyang had been here for more than a month, and he had never seen such a situation. But he could imagine what it would be like to be surrounded by tens of thousands of these creatures. Qin Jingyang looked at the spaceship in the distance and sighed. He then crouched down and used a short knife to deal with the 2 beast ants' corpses. There were no beast cores in these beast ants' bodies. After skinning them and cutting off the red ant meat, Qin Jingyang put the ant meat into a big bag sewn with animal skin and quickly walked toward a small hill not too far away. Kill! Kill! Good job! Kill him! Half an hour later, when Qin Jingyang arrived at the bottom of the hill, he passed through a narrow tunnel that could only allow 1.5 people to pass through. What appeared in front of him was a lively scene. It was a space that was cut into the hill. It was tens of thousands of square meters in size. There were many small holes on it that allowed light to shine in from the outside. There were hundreds of people gathered in this vast space. There was an unpleasant smell of sweat in the air. More than half of the people were half naked with animal skin around their waists. Even the women were no exception to such attire. In the middle, there was a martial arts arena that was hundreds of square meters in size that was surrounded by red tree branches. At this time, 2 men were fighting with weapons in this small martial arts arena. When the weapons collided with each other, there would be clanking sounds. Hundreds of people were watching from outside. They were shouting without restraint and looked very crazy. Forget about the men. The women were shamelessly shaking their boobs on purpose and cheering for the people in the martial arts arena. When Qin Jingyang passed by with the ant meat on his shoulder, the 2 men in the martial arts arena finally had a winner. One of them had his head chopped off by the other. The winner grabbed a bleeding head and raised it up high. He opened his mouth and roared like an animal. It was very barbaric. Qin Jingyang frowned when he saw this. Then, he turned around and walked inside. There were 2 people in the martial arts arena and those who were watching. None of them were rank 9 martial artists from Earth. The result of the martial arts competition was out. Some of the people outside began to collect their bets excitedly. Some of them were disappointed and handed over their bets. The bets were very simple. It was nothing more than pickled food, salt that was hard to come by, and some smooth fur. Drops of blood flowed out from the bag that Qin Jingyang was carrying. A fishy smell began to spread. Those who smelled the fishy smell turned around and looked at Qin Jingyang. Some of them had a greedy look in their eyes. There was a shortage of food here. Someone must have pickled and eaten the bodies of the people that had just been killed. Even so, no one dared to go up and fight for it, because they knew that they would not be able to defeat the old man carrying the meat. Other than Qin Jingyang, the rest of the people here were all natives. They were born and raised on this planet. They were all descendants of the exiles. Chapter 149. In this underground space, hundreds of men and women lived together. Everyone's strength was only equivalent to a level 6 or 7 martial artist on Earth. Compared to Qin Jingyang, these people's strengths were far too lacking. When Qin Jingyang had just arrived, he had killed a few people to establish his might. That was how he had established his prestige here. Now, no one dared to find trouble with him. The reason why he stayed here was because Qin Jingyang wanted to learn these people's language and writing. If he wanted to survive in this new world, he could not know language and writing. These people's language seemed to be the same as the language spoken by the black armored man. The words they used were also the same as the words on the formation board. Qin Jingyang carried the meat and entered the innermost cave where he lived temporarily. There was a strong old man in the cave. There was a torch made with a kind of exotic beast fat as fuel. This kind of fat was very special. There was no smoke after burning, and the light it emitted was very bright. It was as bright as a 3-watt LED light made by humans. There was also a fire in the middle of the cave. It was burning red plant roots. Above the bonfire, there was a pot carved out of a red rock. Steam was rising from the pot, making bubbling noises. %% yin #yin. Qin Jingyang walked into the cave. The old man stood up and said a few words. Qin Jingyang could already understand part of this language. After the old man finished speaking, he said with a smile, "I killed 2 beast ants. This meat is enough for us to eat for a few days." Qin Jingyang also used the new language he learned. This old man was originally going to be chased out by the people here, but Qin Jingyang saved him. In this place where the strong preyed on the weak, even old and weak people would be eliminated. They would be chased out and eaten by the exotic beasts in the wild. The old man helped Qin Jingyang put down the meat on his shoulder. He seemed very attentive. If Qin Jingyang hadn't saved him, he would have been eaten by the exotic beasts. At this moment, footsteps sounded at the entrance of the cave. Qin Jingyang turned around. A woman appeared at the entrance of the cave. This woman often went out to find food. Her skin was dark, but her figure was very good. Her upper body was bare. %yin ##@ The woman looked at Qin Jingyang and said a few words. What she meant was that she was willing to let Qin Jingyang enjoy her body in exchange for some food. Her children were starving. Qin Jingyang shook his head. The woman felt helpless and left in disappointment. Qin Jingyang was the strongest here. It was very easy for him to kill some strange beasts, so it was not difficult for him to obtain food. With the help of the old man, a large bag of nearly 100 pounds of beast ant meat was quickly marinated by the two of them with light red salt. Qin Jingyang remembered the woman and asked the old man to send some meat to her. The old man nodded and went out with more than 20 kilograms of meat. Sigh. Qin Jingyang sighed as he watched the old man leave the cave. There were many caves like the one Qin Jingyang was in on this planet. Most people lived in such a state. As for those who had reached the level of a meteor star warrior, they were people who were as powerful as Qin Jingyang. They had already set off from here to the other side of the planet. There was a pyramid built in the ground. According to the ancient legends, this underground pyramid was very large, and there was a teleportation formation inside. Through this teleportation formation, one could go to a planet with a better environment. Qin Jingyang knew that the other rank 9 warriors had already gone there before him, because no one would want to stay there if there was even a slight chance of success. However, there were many dangerous creatures along the way. It was very dangerous. Moreover, there were also very powerful exotic beasts in the underground pyramid. Not every expert could do as they wished. The triangular spaceship stopped above the pyramid. Purple Star Race warriors in purple armor jumped down from the spaceship. 2 of them were the most eye-catching. One of them was a black armored man, while the other was a tall man. The helmet on his head was shaped like a beast's head, and it was different from the others' helmets. It was another beast. Moreover, he was wearing a silver-white cloak. This man in black armor was the first one to arrive on Earth. The warrior in the silver-white cape was the leader of these 10,000 warriors. He was a meteor star king. When everyone got down from the spaceship, the area under the red pyramid was already densely packed with purple. After putting down the people, the triangular spaceship rose into the air and soon left the planet. The meteor star king glanced at the man in black armor beside him. The man in black armor nodded and led 10 purple star race warriors into one of the entrances of the pyramid. More than 10 minutes later, the man in black armor returned with his people. The meteor star king waved his hand. More than 10,000 purple star race warriors were about to go to Earth through the teleportation formation. Because the coordinates of the exiled planet in the universe were kept secret and would not be published on the interstellar map, they could only be entered and exited through the teleportation formation. Otherwise, the exiled people might be rescued by others. The planet whose coordinates were published was not the exiled planet. These 10,000 Purple Star Race warriors could only go to Earth through teleportation. At this moment, more than 10,000 Purple Star Race warriors showed a crazy look in their eyes. If it was to clean up a planet occupied by strange beasts, they would have some resistance in their hearts. But if it was the exiled planet, they could at least get some benefits for themselves. For example, women and slaves. The cleaning mentioned by the fourth prince, in addition to slaughtering, of course, was to make the humans of the exiled planet their slaves. Thinking that the exiled planet they were about to arrive at was a place with a large population, a good environment, and many beautiful women, these Purple Star Race warriors couldn't wait to appear on Earth immediately. In the fierce cold wind, Yang Tian took a deep breath with his upper body naked. As he inhaled, the muscles on his body moved. At this moment, he was in a half-squatting position with his hands clenched into fists as if he was in a horse stance. In front of him was a huge piece of broken ice more than 10 meters high. In a strong airflow, mixed with ice particles, it was as if it was snowing. Bang! Suddenly, Yang Tian shouted and threw a punch. His punch landed on the giant ice block in front of him, creating a loud sound. Under Yang Tian's punch, the huge ice block was directly broken, as if it was blown up by explosives. It was swept away by the airflow and flew into the distance. After the ice block was broken, Yang Tian let out a long breath. Looking at his fist, he laughed excitedly. Using the power of the Dragon Ball, coupled with the body refining technique, his strength was so strong that he could destroy a huge piece of ice with a punch. One had to know that in the South Pole, ice was very hard, almost as hard as rock. Using such a powerful force to hit the ice, Yang Tian's fist didn't show any signs of swelling at all, because the power of the Dragon Ball that had been circulating in his body could finally be released, forming an invisible energy barrier on the surface of his body. At this moment, the disc array not far away lit up. This time, after the disc array was activated, it was no longer empty, but a black armored man appeared on it. The invaders had finally arrived. Chapter 150. This black armor man gave Yang Tian a very familiar feeling. Although Yang Tian didn't know his name, he could tell at a glance that this was the black armor man who brought Yang Nancy and the other 3 bounty hunters to take Qin Fei away. If it wasn't for this guy, Qin Fei might still be by his side, living a happy life as a married couple. Whoosh! Yang Tian frowned and pulled out the sword beside him. He was ready to fight. Even if this guy was from the same clan as Yang Nancy, Yang Tian didn't plan to let him go. The little blue dragon was also eyeing this black armor man covetously. After the black armor man appeared on the formation plate, he glanced at Yang Tian. His blue eyes under the mask lit up, and an excited smile appeared on his face. The main purpose of coming to this celestial meteor was to kill Yang Tian and bring back Yang Tian's body. Originally, he thought that it would take some time to find Yang Tian, but he didn't expect that as soon as he arrived, Yang Tian would appear in front of him. In the words of the humans on this planet, this was called getting it without any effort. This process was very short. After the black armor man was happy, he reacted and immediately walked down from the formation plate. When the black armor man came down from the formation plate, 2 people wearing purple armor appeared on the formation plate at once. The purple armor on the 2 of them looked even more magnificent and beautiful. Furthermore, their equipment looked even more exquisite. Seeing these 2 people appear, Yang Tian's heart skipped a beat, and a bad guess appeared in his mind. Wasn't Earth a planet in exile? Why would these people come here again? The 2 purple armor men walked down from the formation plate, and then 2 more purple armor men appeared on the formation plate. Almost every 3 seconds, 2 purple armored men would appear on the formation plate. The soldiers of the Purple Star clan had never seen Yang Tian before. The information they got was all from this black armor man. Although they didn't know Yang Tian, they saw that Yang Tian was holding a weapon and was half naked in such a cold situation. He must be a powerful person. This person should be killed. More than 20 Purple Star Clan soldiers who came here immediately made a judgment. However, before they could do anything, Yang Tian made his move first. Although Yang Tian didn't know the purpose of these people, it was obviously not a good thing for an alien race to come to Earth with weapons. Just like 300 years ago, when the people from the Western countries landed on the Eastern continent. Invasion. This was the first word that appeared in Yang Tian's mind. Whoosh, whoosh, with a gust of wind, Yang Tian suddenly appeared in front of the Black Armor Man. The Black Armor Man didn't even have a chance to react. When he noticed the changes in the airflow around his body, Yang Tian's fist had already landed on his abdomen. Yang Tian's current strength was at least 2 levels higher than this Black Armor Man. The Black Armor Man was a Meteor Star warrior, and Yang Tian was already a Meteor Star King. The difference of 1 level was a huge gap in strength, not to mention 2 levels. When the Black Armor Man heard the wind, he found that his body had already been sent flying, and the part of his abdomen that was hit by Yang Tian had already caved in, and there were traces of cracks. Crack! The Black Armor Man was shocked. He endured the pain in his abdomen and wanted to twist his waist to stop himself. But Yang Tian's figure flashed, and he caught up with him. The sword in his hand slashed at the Black Armor Man's neck, cutting a hole in his neck armor. Next, the Black Armor Man felt that his neck was twisted. He felt a chill on his head, and the helmet that was on his head was removed from his head. What appeared in front of Yang Tian was a young man with a scar on his face. He had an ordinary face. Yang Tian used his hand to grab the person's neck and stopped him in midair. Bang! Yang Tian grabbed the Black Armor Man's head and smashed it on the hard ice. Half of the Black Armor Man's head was stuck in the ice. With Yang Tian's hand on his neck, the Black Armor Man didn't dare to move. His blue eyes were filled with fear. He didn't think that in such a short time, Yang Tian's strength would increase so much. I know that you know our language. Speak. Why did you bring these people here? Yang Tian looked into the Black Armor Man's eyes and asked coldly. At this time, more and more Zichan Kingdom warriors came out from the disc array. Facing Yang Tian's cold eyes, the Black Armor Man didn't dare to lie and said honestly, "These are all warriors from the Zichan Kingdom. They were ordered by the 4th Prince of Qin to clean you up and bring your body back." The 20 Zichan Kingdom warriors that just arrived were surprised to see the Black Armor Man being restrained. But they reacted quickly and immediately surrounded Yang Tian. Yang Tian ignored the Zichan Kingdom warriors and asked again, "And the humans on Earth have no grudges with the Zichan Kingdom. Why did they come here to kill me and clean me up?" Without even guessing, Yang Tian knew what clean meant. Not long ago, he was planning to clean up this world of ultra beasts after marrying Qin Fei. The Black Armor Man laughed, but there was a hint of sadness in his smile. In the universe, what reason does a powerful kingdom need to wipe out a race? Of course, the Black Armor Man didn't know that the 4th Prince gave this order because of Qin Fei. For the 4th Prince, this matter was as simple as lifting his foot and stomping an ant to death. How many people did they send? Yang Tian asked again. 10,011 people. The Black Armor Man replied with a smile. Yang Tian didn't ask and continued. Among them, there are 9,800 quasi-meteor-level warriors, 200 meteor-level warriors, 10 meteor-level generals, and 1 meteor-level Star King. It's hard for you to win, but as a race that lost their country and wandered around, I hope you can win. As long as you kill these 10,000 people and destroy the road here, you will be safe. Why are you telling me this? Yang Tian didn't understand. The Black Armor Man laughed. I was defeated by you, but I don't want to be your slave. You should know my intentions from Yu Yang Nazi. Yang Tian frowned as he understood what was going on. He released his grip on the Black Armored Man's neck. My name is Yu Yang Xing Chun. The Black Armor Man stood up and stretched his arms. Yu Yang Xing Chun. A burst of blue electric sparks flashed on Yu Yang Xing Chun's black armor. %% yin hashtag. At this time, Yang Xing Chun turned his head and said something to the black armor man suddenly. Jade Sun Xingchun's body, along with his black armor, turned into a ball of blue flame. In the blink of an eye, he was burned to ashes. Chapter 151. Yang Yuxing Chen's last words were to tell the Zichen Kingdom's soldiers that the strong warrior in front of them is Yang Tian. Yang Tian didn't even need to think to know, because he saw the Zichen Kingdom's soldiers surrounding him looking at him with even colder eyes. While Yang Tian was talking to Yang Yuxing Chen, more Zichen Kingdom soldiers had come out of the teleportation disk. The number of people has reached more than 300. He can't let more people come. He has to stop them. Auxiliary device. Activate for me. Yang Tian's name and tell all the warriors in the world. Yang Tian quickly ordered the warrior assistive equipment on his wrist. Kacha! Yang Tian had already moved. His figure flashed and swept past a Zichen Kingdom soldier. This blade directly cut off the Zichen Kingdom's soldier's head. This Zichen Kingdom soldier that was killed by Yang Tian didn't have any reaction to Yang Tian's speed. Yang Tian's speed was simply too fast in the eyes of these quasi-meteor warriors who were only equivalent to level 8 martial artists. Alien strong warriors invading, 9,800 level 8 warriors, 200 level 9 warriors. Yang Tian didn't stop talking, he continued. PFFF, PFFF, PFFF. Yang Tian flashed quickly. The Zichen Kingdom soldiers surrounding him didn't even have time to react before their heads were cut off by Yang Tian. In just 3 seconds, Yang Tian killed more than 10 Zichen Kingdom soldiers. The powerful Yang Tian was able to display his full strength. These quasi-meteor soldiers that were equivalent to rank 8 martialists were no match for him. If there were more than 10,000 people, and all of them were at this level, Yang Tian was confident that he could kill all of them by himself. Of course, this was the ideal situation. Among these 10,000 people, there were 200 Meteor Star warriors, whose strength was equivalent to a level 9 warrior. There were also 10 Meteor Star warriors, whose strength was equivalent to a level 10 warrior, and one of the most powerful Meteor Star kings. Yang Tian's strength, if he used the power of the Dragon Ball, would surpass the Meteor Star kings and be close to the Meteor Star Field Lord's realm. Yang Tian was still confident in defeating Star King. However, his opponent was wearing armor with extremely strong defensive abilities and was well equipped, which more or less offset his advantage in strength. Yang Tian was a little jealous of this armor. He was thinking how great it would be if he could get his hands on such a set of armor. The reason why Yang Tian notified the other warriors was because he knew that he couldn't kill all these people alone. For the human race, it would be a tough battle soon. Bang! Yang Tian was killing the Zichen Kingdom soldiers. Suddenly, a purple shadow flashed in front of him, and a tall Zichen Kingdom's warrior appeared in front of him. The person who suddenly appeared was very fast. He used a shiny scimitar attached to his armor to clash with Yang Tian's scimitar. Yang Tian didn't move, but the Zichen Kingdom's warrior was pushed back for more than 10 meters. This was a Meteor Star warrior. Yang Tian quickly determined the other party's strength. Whoosh! At this time, another Zichen Kingdom's warrior rushed over, and in a flash, he appeared in front of Yang Tian. This person was also a Meteor Star warrior. There were 10 Meteor Star warriors, and 2 of them came at once. Bang! The Meteor Star warrior's weapon was a dark red scimitar, and it clashed with Yang Tian's scimitar. Crack! The ice under Yang Tian's feet cracked, but the Meteor Star warrior stopped after taking 5 or 6 steps back. This person was so strong. Yang Tian couldn't help but sigh. This person's strength was at least a third stronger than the previous general from the Meteor Star level. However, he wasn't as fast as the Meteor Star warrior. Warriors at the same level had differences in strength, and they had their own strengths. %%% yin hashtag. At this time, the Meteor Star warrior who was pushed back by Yang Tian said loudly, "Bang, bang, bang." As soon as he finished speaking, hundreds of Zichen Kingdom's warriors jumped up from the ice and shot dozens of meters into the air. While they were in the air, they quickly took out a purple disc-shaped object with a diameter of about 10 centimeters from their waists and threw it at Yang Tian. Whoosh, 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 hundreds of palm-sized discs flew quickly in the air, and suddenly 3 bright white scimitars popped out. Hundreds of spinning scimitars flew in an arc, whistling as they attacked Yang Tian. Hundreds of scimitars suddenly surrounded Yang Tian. But how could these spinning scimitars trap Yang Tian? These Zichen Kingdom's warriors probably knew that it was useless against Yang Tian. Their goal was to delay as much as possible until their leader arrived. Yang Tian's figure moved and disappeared from the spot. Bang! When Yang Tian reappeared, he was already in front of the meteor star warrior. This person reacted quickly, as if he was always on guard against Yang Tian. When Yang Tian slashed at him, he had already raised his arm, and the scimitar connected to his armor clashed with Yang Tian's scimitar again. This person was bounced back by a powerful force and quickly retreated. Puff, puff, puff. At this time, those flying scimitars fell to the ground, and after a dense puff-puff sound, they sank into the ice. Although the 2 meteor star warriors were not as strong as Yang Tian, they were very experienced. When one of them was repelled, Yang Tian paused for a moment, and the other one seized the opportunity to attack again. At this time, the surrounding soldiers quickly moved, trying to surround Yang Tian again. Puff, puff, puff. At this time, Yang Tian quickly turned around and killed 3 meteor star warriors in a row. At this time, after killing one of them, there would be one less threat to the humans. At this time, the surrounding soldiers suddenly took a fist-sized, ball-shaped thing from their waist and threw it at Yang Tian. It didn't look like a high-explosive weapon, because there were many Purple Star Empire soldiers around Yang Tian. Zizizi. Yang Tian did not expect that after the spheres exploded, they would release a strong electric current. The entire ice surface where Yang Tian was standing was covered in electric arcs formed by the electric current. This kind of weapon was similar to the electric current used by humans to deal with strange beasts, but the electric current was stronger. Being electrocuted by this electric current, Yang Tian's whole body was numb, and his speed was greatly reduced. But the Purple Star Empire soldiers wrapped in purple armor were not affected in the slightest. Yang Tian already had a way to deal with this kind of attack. The power of the Dragon Ball in his body was operating, trying to expel this electric current from his body. But what Yang Tian didn't expect was that the electric current that invaded his body was absorbed by the small black dot in the Dragon Ball space. At the same time, the numbness on Yang Tian's body disappeared, and he regained his peak mobility. Chapter 152. Yang Tian did not expect that the Dragon Ball in his body that had turned into a black had such a strange ability. It could directly absorb the electric current that entered his body. This entire process only took an instant. Because their bodies were temporarily numbed by the electric current, the 2 meteor star generals took the opportunity and rushed towards Yang Tian. From their point of view, Yang Tian had temporarily lost his ability to move, and this was the perfect opportunity to kill Yang Tian. That kind of powerful electric current would cause the nervous system of a meteor star king to be temporarily numbed and lose the ability to fight for at least 1 or 2 seconds. In a battle between meteor star generals and above, half a second was enough to determine the outcome of the battle. Roar! At this moment, a dragon roar came from the sky. The little blue dragon turned into a giant dragon. After roaring in the sky, it rushed down. The 2 meteor star generals had rich battle experience. They were not disturbed by the dragon's roar. One of them raised his sword and chopped towards Yang Tian's head, and the other one attacked Yang Tian's abdomen. Buzz! Yang Tian narrowed his eyes and focused his mind. The powerful energy of the Dragon Ball came out of his body and shook the sword in his hand. The strong meteor star general had already leaped high into the air, while the fast meteor star general spun around. In Yang Tian's eyes, time seemed to have frozen as the movements of the 2 meteor star generals suddenly slowed down. At this moment, when the 2 swords were about to touch Yang Tian's body, Yang Tian suddenly moved. Crack, crack. In the eyes of the Zichen Empire soldiers, Yang Tian's figure flashed and suddenly disappeared. When he appeared more than 10 meters away, the Zichan Empire's soldiers heard two consecutive crack-crack sounds. Bang! The two meteor star generals suddenly collided with each other. The corners of Yang Tian's mouth curled up as a cold smile flashed across his face. In that instant, he first leaped, leaned back, and slashed the throat of the comet-level general who had leaped into the air, borrowing the force of the return of the blade. As his body rapidly fell, he twisted his waist and swept over the comet-level general who was attacking his lower body. He also slashed the neck of the comet-level general. This process was completed in less than a tenth of a second. Among the 10,000 Zichan Empire soldiers, the biggest threat to Earth is the 10 Meteor Star Generals and the Meteor Star King that hasn't appeared yet. This time, he had killed 2 Meteor-level generals and reduced the enemy's strength by at least 5%. After the 2 Meteor-level generals collided, their heads had completely lost control of their bodies. This was because Yang Tian's blade carried the power of the Dragon Ball, and its destructive power was even stronger. This slash had already injured the nerves in their necks. Even if they were still alive, they wouldn't be able to live for long. When the 2 meteor-level generals fell to the ground, they still had their eyes wide open, trying to see the last thing they could see. In their eyes, there was a giant ice block, blood all over the ground, and a giant dragon falling from the sky. At this time, there were more than 1,000 Zichan Empire soldiers that came out from the formation plate. Boom! The little blue dragon came to the top of the formation plate, where the Zichan Empire's soldiers were the most concentrated. It opened its mouth and spat out a bright white, burning flame. The armor of the Zichan Empire's soldiers was waterproof, fireproof, and heat-resistant. It was also very tough. However, there was a limit to it. The little blue dragon's dragon flame was not something these purple armor could defend against. Instantly, dozens of people were burned by the dragon flame. Some were turned into charcoal, some were rolling on the ground in pain, and some had blue sparks on their bodies. Seeing this, even Yang Tian was surprised. This was the second time that Yang Tian saw the little blue dragon use fire. The first time was in the Clear Stream Valley, when he was fighting against the rank 7-winged snake. At that time, the little blue dragon was not strong enough, and the dragon flame that it spat out was still red. But now, the dragon flame was burning white. It was obvious that the temperature was very high. Sizzle, the little blue dragon's ability was not limited to this. After spitting out the extremely hot flame, its 2 dragon horns suddenly flashed. It was like 2 electrodes, and 2 huge white electric currents flashed. As soon as the 2 electric currents appeared, they went through its 2 huge front claws and hit the ice. Boom! After a thunder, a huge hole appeared on the ice that was hit by the lightning. The armor of the dozens of Zichan Empire's soldiers suddenly began to smoke. It was obvious that they had been destroyed. This kind of armor was obviously a high-tech thing. After it was destroyed by the electric current, it would fall from the soldiers, or it would make them very stiff. Pong! The little blue dragon suddenly landed on the ice again and slammed 2 Zichan Empire's soldiers into the ice. The dragon's tail swept again, and dozens of soldiers were swept away. No one knew if they were injured or not. Pong, pong, pong. These Zichan Empire's soldiers also reacted quickly. Even the weakest of them was equivalent to a rank 8 warrior. In an instant, they arrived next to the little blue dragon and used their swords to slash at the little blue dragon's body. The green dragon scales that covered the little blue dragon's body only left white marks. Roar! The little blue dragon, who was in pain, let out a roar. Its eyes were filled with anger, and with another roar, it spat out the burning dragon flame from its mouth again. This was like a tiger that had entered a flock of sheep. Yang Tian now knew that he had underestimated the little blue dragon's ability. Or perhaps the little blue dragon had recently evolved again. One must know that in the past month, the beast cores that this guy had eaten could be piled up into a mountain. There were more ultra beasts in the sea than on land. Puff, puff, puff. Yang Tian did not stop. His body flashed, and he shuttled through the thousands of Zichan Empire soldiers, killing the invaders. They could not afford to lose this war. When the Jade Sun Star died, Yang Tian could feel the helplessness that was shown on his face. That kind of helplessness was the helplessness of a race that had lost its place to live. Even if the Jade Sun race were still alive, they were like rootless duckweeds that could only wander around. If the Earth was destroyed, and there were only a few humans left, they would be like the Jade Sun race, losing their home and wandering in the vast universe. Not to mention, Yang Tian still had his family and friends. These were all things that he could not lose. Suddenly, a Zichan Empire soldier's head was cut off by Yang Tian. The helmet on the head was separated from the human head, revealing the delicate face of a woman. This Zichan Empire soldier was a woman. Yang Tian was only slightly surprised. He then waved the sword in his hand, and his body flashed, taking the lives of the Zichan Empire soldiers one by one. Even if it was a woman, she was still an invader, and must be killed without mercy. Chapter 153. While Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were in a frenzy, a tall man in purple armor with a silver-white cloak appeared. "Sir, Yang Tian and this star beast have already killed more than 500 of our men." At this moment, a meteor star general standing beside this person said with a frown. More than 10,000 of the Zichan Empire soldiers were wearing purple armors, but there were some differences between them. Normal meteor star warriors had lighter purple armor with fewer decorations on the surface. At the same time, there was only a diamond-shaped symbol on the shoulders of the armor. As for the meteor star warriors, the color of their armor was a lot darker. There were more patterns on the surface of the armor, which made the whole armor look more exquisite. On both sides of the shoulders, there were two protruding diamond-shaped marks. Above them were the Star Generals and Star Kings. Their armors were even more exquisite. The Meteor Star King, with a silver-white cloak, also had a unique helmet. Star King 5 frowned as he watched the Meteor Star King killing his soldiers. He raised his hand and opened his vambrace. A blue ray of light shot out and displayed a 3D image of Earth. There was a green dot on it that represented his current location. After zooming in on his location, the Meteor Star King saw a huge human city near the South Pole. This city was called Ice Snow City and was located in the south of Aegon. After the outbreak of the YS virus, Ice Snow City was the safest city. Due to climate change, Ice Snow City was covered in ice and snow for at least 8 months out of the 12 months of the year. Under such weather conditions, there were fewer mutated beasts compared to other places. Ice Snow City was not very big. It was about the same size as Tianxiong City. However, due to the lack of resources, the population was only about 2 million. At the same time, due to the natural conditions, although Ice Snow City was safe, it was not the most prosperous safe zone in the world. Another reason was that the ruler of Ice Snow City, Diado, was extremely xenophobic. Martial artists from other cities had a hard time obtaining the right to live in Ice Snow City. Of course, this applied to martial artists above level 7. No matter which city they were in, high-ranking martial artists of level 7 and above were extremely welcomed. Their arrival meant that the city would be safer. Diado was also a level 9 martial artist. He had been famous for a long time and was from the same era as Qin Zhengyang. Yang Tian's warning message had already been received by all the martial artists in the world who had martial artist auxiliary devices. At this time, the management organizations and rulers of the various cities immediately called for a meeting. Of course, the warriors of Ice Snow City were no exception. All the high-level warriors were gathered to discuss countermeasures. In the conference room, a large screen was playing a high-definition video from the satellite. The battle is very intense. Yang Tian and his pet beast are facing so many enemies. But from the looks of it, Yang Tian has a higher chance of winning. These extraterrestrial warriors aren't that powerful. They have a lot of people. What if a portion of them are to head toward our Ice Snow City? What should we do? That shouldn't be possible. Those people only have a grudge against Yang Tian. Why would they care about us? Let's just watch the show. I think we should still provide help. Each person has one pet beast. No matter how strong they are, they can't win against more than 10,000 enemies. You have to know that Yang Tian's message said that there were 200 level 9 martial artists. 11 of them were above level 9, and the rest were level 8 martial artists. This is a very powerful force, a force that could take over Earth. If Yang Tian fails and is killed, it will be our turn next. Huh. I think this message was exaggerated by Yang Tian. He married an extraterrestrial wife and offended others. What does that have to do with us? In the conference room, there was no consensus. Most of the people were conservative. These people had stayed in Ice Snow City for too long, and their hearts had become numb. Dido thought about it and made a decision. Then let's observe for a while more. However, all the martial artists in the city have to be prepared for battle. All the martial artists who went out for training have to be summoned back. Since the master of the city had made his decision, the dozens of martial artists in the meeting room had nothing to say. As a level 7 martial artist from the east who stayed in the city, although Li Yuan was dissatisfied with Dido's decision, he could not object. This city was definitely in danger. Li Yuan could vaguely feel it. He came out of the conference room and immediately walked out of Dido's large villa. He started the car. It was the end of October. It was the coldest time in Ice Snow City. The wide streets in the city were deserted, and there were very few pedestrians. Li Yuan drove as fast as he could. When they arrived at the villa area in the city, Li Yuan opened the door. "Grandpa, you're back. How was it? Were you going to kill aliens?" As soon as the door opened, a 17-year-old boy jumped out with a smile and asked Li Yuan excitedly. This was Li Yuan's adopted grandson, Li Junyang. Although he was only 17, Li Junyang was already a level 4 martial artist. In such cold weather, he was still wearing a white t-shirt. "Junyang, pack up. We're leaving Ice Snow City immediately. We can't accompany those idiots to their deaths. You're not qualified to kill aliens." Li Yuan looked at his grandson and said with a frown, "Grandpa, if we do this, won't we be deserters?" Li Junyang scratched his head. Slap. Li Yuan slapped his grandson's forehead. "What do you know? With our current strength, we can't even defeat an alien martial artist. What else can we do if we don't run? If the city lord has the ambition to support Yang Tian, it's worth it even if I become cannon fodder. But a bunch of cowards." Li Junyang heard this and helplessly opened his mouth. Soon, the two of them packed up and drove to the city gate. As soon as the two of them left the city, martial law was declared in the city. After leaving the city, Li Yuan took Li Junyang north, away from the Antarctic continent and Ice Snow City. While walking, Li Junyang operated the martial artist auxiliary device on his wrist. At this time, he was contacting a group of brothers. Ever since Yang Tian became famous, young martial artists in their teens all regarded Yang Tian as their idol. These young martial artists even established an organization on the internet. This organization was called the Junior Class. They believed in the martial artist spirit advocated by Yang Tian. At the same time, they also learned from Yang Tian. Whenever they had time, they would form teams and go out to train. Yang Tian didn't expect that the martial artist spirit he advocated would first bloom among young people. Perhaps soon it would bear fruit. Li Junyang was the leader of the junior class. Chapter 154. Boom! Little Blue slammed down with its claw and slammed a quasi-meteor star warrior into the ice. The powerful force directly penetrated the purple armor on this person's body and shattered his internal organs. With another sweep of its tail, it sent a quasi-meteor star warrior flying. Puffed, puffed. Yang Tian's figure flashed as he kept on killing the stellar race warriors that appeared in front of him. It was as if there was no end to the enemies, and the battle was very intense. Bang! At this time, a meteor star warrior that was equivalent to a rank 11 warrior slashed at the little blue dragon. The powerful force caused the dragon's scales to fall off. The blade in the warrior's hand kept on vibrating like a chainsaw. Roar! The little blue dragon roared in pain and turned its head around. It opened its mouth and spat out scorching flames at the warrior. However, the warrior seemed to have expected the little blue dragon's reaction and quickly dodged. The Meteor Star King that was wearing a cape seemed to have ignored the battle in front of him. He was also indifferent to the casualties of his subordinates. He looked at where Ice Snow City was, and a cold smile appeared on his face under the mask. Suddenly, he ordered, "All Meteor Star warriors, move out immediately and destroy this city. Meteor Star warriors, stay behind with me." Bang, bang, bang. As soon as the Meteor Star King gave the order, the Purple Star Race warriors that were attacking Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon immediately retreated. Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon were having a good time fighting. During this period of time, the number of Purple Star Race warriors that died under the violent attacks of Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon had reached thousands. Among them, there were more than 30 Meteor Star warriors that were equivalent to rank 9 warriors. The Meteor Star warriors had lost 1/8 of their strength. With such a huge number of casualties, the Star Race warriors that were attacking Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon did not seem to be afraid of death. They did not show any signs of retreating. This is because in the Zi-Chun Empire, the hierarchy is very strict, and the discipline of battle is also very strict. If a subordinate disobeys a superior in battle or cowers in battle, he will be severely punished. Therefore, when these warriors fought against Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon, even if they knew that they would die, they still had to bite the bullet and charge forward. If they died in battle, their relatives would receive generous compensation. This kind of reward and punishment system was similar to that of the Qin dynasty in China. This system turned the battlefield into a killing machine, but the fear of death still existed in the hearts of these Purple Star warriors. This was human nature. When their leader gave the order to retreat, the Meteor warriors who were besieging Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon heaved a sigh of relief. This kind of battle was not balanced for them. After killing more than 1,000 Purple Star Race warriors, Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon also paid a price. Yang Tian was covered in wounds, and blood was seeping out of his messy wounds. The Little Blue Dragon also lost a few pieces of its scales, and its expression was a lot more dispirited. For the Little Blue Dragon, the biggest injury was not its body, but the large amount of energy it had consumed. After the Purple Star Race warriors left, Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon finally heaved a sigh of relief. But soon, Yang Tian's heart was in his mouth, because he found that thousands of Purple Star Race warriors were actually heading north. Obviously, these Purple Star Race warriors were going to the nearest Ice Snow City. Yang Tian's eyes were about to pop out, and his body moved, wanting to rush forward to stop them. Warriors bullying ordinary humans. Yang Tian was extremely disgusted. Not to mention these were all outsiders. Suddenly, a silver shadow appeared in front of Yang Tian, and at the same time, a black light appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes. Yang Tian's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately dodged to the side. The one who attacked Yang Tian was the Meteor Star King, and this guy's speed was so fast that Yang Tian was surprised. This speed was not much different from Yang Tian's full power of the Dragon Pearl. After Yang Tian stopped, the Meteor Star King did not attack him again. The weapon in the Meteor Star King's hand was a black sword. No wonder Yang Tian saw a black line. Hula, at this time, the Meteor Star King shook his silver cloak and then pulled it off, throwing it away casually. One had to say, his action was very handsome. After throwing away the silver cloak, the Meteor Star King actually took off his helmet, and then there was a caw-caw sound. Unexpectedly, the Meteor Star King actually took off his armor. This Star King was wearing thin clothes, which seemed to be made of cotton, and it looked a bit tight, revealing the smooth muscle lines of his whole body. He was more than 2 meters tall, taller than Yang Tian. He had a square face, thick eyebrows, and big eyes. His slightly purple eyes radiated confidence. No wonder it was called Zi-Chun Empire. It turned out to be like this. Yang Tian thought, "I will fight fairly with you." Looking at Yang Tian, the Meteor Star King said in not very fluent English. Yang Tian was not surprised that this person could speak the language on Earth. His language information must have been obtained from Jade Sun Star. This is an admirable opponent. At least he has the spirit of a warrior. Yang Tian nodded. "Yang Tian my name, Zi Qinji Wei." The Meteor Star King said again. The Meteor Star King's opponent was Yang Tian, and the remaining 8 Meteor Star Generals' opponents were the Little Blue Dragon. At this time, the 8 Meteor Star Generals had already surrounded the Little Blue Dragon in the middle. In addition to these 8 people, there were dozens of Meteor Star warriors whose strength was equivalent to a level 9 warrior. The Little Blue Dragon did not move at this time. Lying on the hard ice, he coldly glanced at the Meteor Star warriors surrounding him. The 2 dragon whiskers on his lips swayed against the wind, and the ice clasped by his claws made a ka-ka-ka sound. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The sword in Yang Tian's hand trembled again. Yang Tian knew that if he did not deal with these enemies in front of him, he would not be able to stop the Purple Star Clan's cleansing of the human race. He must defeat the man in front of him. At this time, although Yang Tian was full of fighting spirit, he was still a little worried. He was not worried about whether he could defeat Zichen Ji Wei, but he was worried about the people in Ice Snow City. He had already issued a warning to all the warriors in the world, and he did not know whether those warriors were prepared or not. However, even if they were prepared, facing thousands of level 8 warriors and 100 Meteor Star warriors whose strength was equivalent to a level 9 warrior. Even if all the warriors on Earth were to gather, the chances of winning were very small. The battle between the strongest warriors on Earth was about to start. On the other side, Li Junyang and his grandfather Li Yuan were walking in the vast snow. "Grandpa, do you know our junior class? There are more than 1,000 people under my command now." Li Junyang used his identity as the class leader to give the order to gather and said to his grandfather proudly, "A bunch of brats, what can you do?" Li Yuan said disdainfully. Li Junyang pursed his lips unhappily. What Li Yuan did not know was that what happened next was that these 1,000 young warriors stepped forward bravely and aroused a warrior spirit that had been dormant for a long time. Earth had entered a new era. Chapter 155. Why is the price of every chapter different? Let me explain here. The fee is calculated by the number of words. If the chapter has more words, the fee will be higher. If the chapter has fewer words, the fee will be lower. Because the number of words per chapter is different, everyone's subscription price will be different. Authors, can it be cheaper or free some chapters? What I want to say is the selling price is not controlled by me. The price is set by the website long ago. I have no right to change it. And after the book is put up for sale, as for giving out free chapters, what I want to say is, what's the use of giving out free chapters? Don't you still have to pay to read the later chapters? Also, a few chapters are only worth a few cents. Moreover, I can't just casually give out free chapters. This will also mess up the chapters in the book, making the paying readers unable to understand. It is also disrespectful to the paying readers. Why is there a fee? Very simple. There is no such thing as a free lunch in this world. We authors write books for the sake of earning money, hope and earn some income. As for scolding the fee, I can only chuckle. I don't want to say anything. Also, there is the issue of updating. I have been updating at 6,000 to 7,000 words a day. It is not little. Although sometimes I update later, everyone might finish reading a chapter in a few minutes, but I have to write for 1 to 2 hours, burying my neck until it hurts. I also want to write tens of thousands of words in one go. Let everyone read to their heart's content. I can also earn more money, right? There is also the monthly ticket. Everyone, look at your VIP level. If you are level 1 or 2 and spend 25 yuan to read this month, remember, it is a subscription, reward are not counted. You will get a monthly ticket next month. If you're level 3 or above, as long as you spend this month, you will get a guaranteed monthly ticket next month. I hope you can vote for me. If not, there will be no more at the end of the month. Thank you. Chapter 156. Sixth update. Chapter 1. The atmosphere was very heavy. Yang Tian, Zichen Ji Wei, and the Little Blue Dragon were facing off against the 8 generals and dozens of warriors from the Meteor Star level. None of them made the first move. It was as if they were all focusing on their last attack. It was like a battle between 2 masters in the movies. They were all trying to find their opponent's weakness before the battle. The cold wind was howling, and it sounded like a ghost crying. The ice particles that were rolled up fell onto the thousands of corpses. Soon, the corpses of the warriors from the Zichan kingdom would be covered by the ice particles and buried under the ice. The formation plate not far away began to emit a bright blue light, and the teleportation was activated. But at this time, no more warriors from the Zichan kingdom came out from the formation plate. If humans had souls, then the souls of the dead warriors from the Zichan race might be able to return to their homeland through the formation plate. BM. In the silence, the little blue dragon suddenly raised one of its front paws and slammed it on the hard ice. The powerful force shattered the ice under its paws. The first to move was the little blue dragon. Its bestial nature did not allow it to have the patience of a human, and it acted first. Its slap had broken the silence. Bang, bang, bang. The warriors from the Zichan race that surrounded the little blue dragon suddenly moved. Some of them stepped on the ice and used the powerful force to jump up. They raised their swords and slashed at the little blue dragon. Some of them directly rushed toward the little blue dragon. It was as if they had made an agreement, and they all acted at the same time. They were very fast, and in an instant, they were in front of the little blue dragon. After the little blue dragon transformed, while its body was huge and it looked like an obvious target, it was also very agile. Its body swayed as if it was swimming in water, and it instantly dodged the attacks from dozens of warriors from the Zichan race. After swiftly dodging the attacks of tens of Purple Star Clan warriors, the little azure dragon rushed to tens of meters high in the air and turned around. BZZT boom! 2 bolts of lightning formed on the little blue dragon's horns and struck down at the people below. Those who stayed behind were all experts. Those who besieged the little blue dragon were at least level 9 warriors. Their reaction speed was extremely fast, and they knew the little blue dragon's attack pattern. When those who were attacked saw the little blue dragon's cold eyes and the electric sparks on the little blue dragon's horns, they instantly dodged to the side. Even so, the powerful electric current still passed through the conductive ice layer and spread from the ice crater to the surroundings. It lasted for 2 to 3 seconds. As soon as the 2 meteor star warriors landed on the ground, their bodies were covered with electric sparks, causing their armor to temporarily lose its flexibility. Pong! The little blue dragon seized this opportunity and slapped the 2 of them into the ice with its tail. Although the 2 of them didn't die, they suffered heavy injuries and temporarily lost the ability to fight. Puff! Puff! The 2 meteor star warriors seized the opportunity when the little blue dragon attacked their companions and jumped into the air. The swords in their hands slashed at the little blue dragon's body, making a dull sound. A piece of the little blue dragon's dragon scale was cut off. Boom! The angry little blue dragon swayed its body, opened its mouth, and spat out hot dragon flames toward the 2 meteor star warriors who were about to land. The dragon flames cut through the air and rushed toward the 2 at a speed faster than the speed of sound. Under the hot dragon flames, the ice particles in the surrounding air instantly turned into steam, forming a white mist, but it was quickly swept away by the airflow. The 2 meteor star warriors were in the air, and facing the dragon flames that could melt steel in an instant, they calmly twisted their bodies and used the force of the air to dodge to the side. The battle at the little blue dragon side didn't seem to affect Yang Tian, Zichan, and Jiwei at all. The 2 of them were more than 20 meters away from each other, and they both looked into each other's eyes. The eyes were the window to the soul. Through the other's eyes, they could determine the other's next move and even their mentality. Both of them had rich combat experience, and it was difficult to see anything from each other's eyes. They had been facing each other for a long time. Suddenly, Zichan and Ji Wei disappeared from Yang Tian's eyes. Hiss! In the howling cold wind, there was a slight sound of air being cut. Zichan and Ji Wei suddenly appeared in front of Yang Tian, and the black sword in his hand slashed across Yang Tian's chest. At this moment, Zichan and Ji Wei didn't feel much resistance from the sword. It turned out that what he slashed was Yang Tian's afterimage. With his keen 5 senses, Yang Tian immediately moved and quickly dodged Zichan and Ji Wei's sword. Zichan and Ji Wei's sword missed, and he was instantly alerted. Hiss! The same sound was heard, but the sound of the sword rubbing against the air was much calmer than before. Yang Tian's sword also hit the air, and Zichen and Ji Wei had also dodged it. The two's speed was too fast, and it had already surpassed the speed of sound. Often, when the sound was heard, their attack and dodging movements had already been completed. After his sword missed, Yang Tian lifted his sword up. Pung! The sound of the weapons colliding was like thunder. Zichen and Ji Wei's body flew up high, and the ice under Yang Tian's feet suddenly shattered. Yang Tian's legs were hidden in the ice, and it reached up to his knees. Zichen and Ji Wei's sword slashed down at Yang Tian, and Yang Tian's sword was going up. The collision of the two's strength seemed to be equally matched. Zichen and Ji Wei's body was in the air, and his body suddenly flashed, and his body was like a meteor falling from the sky. Pung! Yang Tian's feet moved, and he bounced up from the ice. Hiss! Pung, pung, pung. Next, the two's bodies flashed, and from time to time, they would crash into each other and bounce away again. Roar! On the other side, the little blue dragon suddenly let out a dragon's roar and pounced down from the sky. His huge body created a huge crater in the ice, and the three Zichen warriors that were crushed by him died instantly. Compared to the battle between Yang Tian and Zichen and Ji Wei, the battle on the little blue dragon side was even more intense and violent. However, the battle between the two sides was not going to end well for a while. Yang Tian and Zichen and Ji Wei's speed and strength were equally matched, and it was hard to tell who was the winner. On the other side, while the little blue dragon was strong individually and had the advantage, the other side had the advantage in numbers, and their combined strength was not to be underestimated. 1 minute, 2 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 3 hours, time passed slowly, and the two sides had been fighting on the Antarctic tundra for more than 3 hours. Yang Tian's endurance was amazing, but so was Zichen and Ji Wei. They had been maintaining their peak speed and strength. The little blue dragon was covered in wounds, and the number of Zichen warriors that had died under its attack was already more than 20. But those that died were the weaker meteor warriors. As for the 8 meteor warriors, only one of them was injured and temporarily lost their ability to fight. Chapter 157. Sixth update. Chapter 2. Thousands of Zichen Kingdom's soldiers arrive at Ice Snow City 2 hours after they left the South Pole. Their purple armor could reduce the gravity of the planet. Their speed was close to the speed of sound. If it wasn't for the snow on the road, they would have arrived earlier. Bang, bang, bang. Boom, 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 boom. Suddenly, the sound of heavy machine guns could be heard from the city wall. Bullets were fired at the Zichen Kingdom soldiers. The laser cannons on the city wall also shot out beams of red light at the target, making a chee-chee sound. The high-speed cannons also fired and shot high explosive bombs at the city wall. They wanted to stop the Zichen Kingdom's soldiers from attacking. The Zichen Kingdom's soldiers were moving at high speed. They suddenly scattered, and the bullets and laser beams couldn't hit them. Even if they were hit, the purple armor on their bodies was not damaged at all. When the laser beam hit the armor, it only left a black spot on the purple armor. As for the bullets, they bounced off as soon as they came into contact with the purple armor. The shrapnel from the high explosive bombs was also useless. Some of the Zichen Kingdom soldiers were blown away by the shockwave, but they quickly got up from the ground. In a few minutes, the thousands of Zichen Kingdom soldiers didn't lose a single person. This situation was already monitored by all the cities around the world. Ice Snow City also received the news. There were satellites in the sky. Standing on the city wall, Dido was holding his scimitar. He regretted not his conservative strategy, but he regretted not leaving the city as soon as possible. Just like his subordinate, Li Yuan, who was a rank 7 warrior. The rank 9 warriors who stayed on Earth were either worried about something and couldn't leave, or they were timid. They were afraid of the unknown world. Qin Zhengyang stayed because of his granddaughter, Qin Fei, and Dido stayed because of his timidity. If it was another city's ruler, considering that they were so close to the South Pole, they might have taken the right strategy and sent a large number of warriors to help Yang Tian. They might even evacuate the people in the city. unlike now, which was equivalent to trapping millions of people in the city. The Zichan kingdom's soldiers from the south didn't rush to the city wall when they attacked. Instead, they split into two groups and moved around the city wall. By doing so, it was obvious that they wanted to surround the entire city. If it were an ordinary army of several thousand soldiers, it would be impossible to surround such a large city because there were too few people. Among these thousands of people, even the weakest one was equivalent to a level 8 human warrior. A level 8 warrior could take charge of a very long section of the city wall. Dido knew the purpose of the Zichan Empire's soldiers, but he couldn't do anything about it. When the other high-level martial artists saw this situation, they were also at a loss of what to do. However, many martial artists did not panic. In their opinion, the extraterrestrials only wanted to conquer Earth. If they could not defeat them, they could just surrender. These people made up the majority, and a small number of people were very worried. However, it was not an absolute power. These people did not know that in the eyes of these aliens, Earth was just an exiled planet with poor resources. They did not listen to Yang Tian's warning at all. This world had been relatively peaceful for many years. The older generation of martial artists had passed away due to exhaustion. Their descendants became martial artists because of them, but they did not want to improve themselves. They had lost the spirit of a martial artist and were even more timid than the young martial artists now. Other than Ice Snow City, the rulers of the other safe cities were also conservative. They were watching the situation in Antarctica and Ice Snow City through satellite video. In less than 15 minutes, the entire Ice Snow City was surrounded. Under the orders of the 100 Meteor Star Warriors, dozens of their subordinates immediately attacked Ice Snow City. The city wall was more than 100 meters tall. It could stop the beasts on land, but it could not stop the attack of the Zichan race warriors. In a rain of bullets, they jumped effortlessly and landed on the city wall. Puff, kill. We can't stop them. Run. Help. Sounds of killing, screams, and cries for help could be heard on the city wall at the same time. Facing the massacre of the Stardust race warriors, the martial artists below rank 8 did not even have a chance to fight back. Their heads were chopped off and their bodies were split open. The ground on the city wall was instantly dyed red with blood and covered with the incomplete corpses of the martial artists. The martial artists who saw that something was wrong immediately turned around and ran. Bang! The rank 9 warrior Diardo sent a quasi-meteor warrior flying with a kick and slashed at the chest of another quasi-meteor warrior with his blade, sending him flying. At this time, another meteor star warrior rushed over. Diardo's scimitar slashed across the neck of this meteor star warrior, and he fell to the ground with his hand on his neck. After a short test, Diardo knew where the weakness of the Zichan race warriors was. It was the weak part of the armor on their necks. After knowing the weakness of the Zichan race warriors, Diardo became even more courageous. Within a few minutes, he had killed 6 meteor star warriors. Very quickly, Diardo was targeted by several meteor star warriors. Whoosh! 3 sounds of wind could be heard, and 3 meteor star warriors who were at the same level as Diardo dashed over. After a short battle, one of the meteor star warriors was injured, and there was another corpse on the city wall. Diardo could not even last a minute under the siege of the 3 meteor star warriors. If it was a meteor star warrior, he would not even last a second. In just a few minutes, the Zichan Kingdom's warriors had cleared out all the martial artists on the city wall. During this process, there were some brave martial artists who raised their hands to surrender or even kneeled down and begged for mercy. In the eyes of the Zichan Kingdom's warriors, such people were even worse. With a look of disdain, they swung their scimitars and killed these people. Next, the Zichan Kingdom's warriors rushed into the city. In the eyes of the Zichan Kingdom's warriors, the humans from Earth were a lowly race. They were no different than ants in the eyes of humans. The beautiful women in the city were temporarily left behind. Men, children, the elderly, pregnant women, and even newborn babies were all killed with a single slash of their sabers. For a moment, the quiet Ice Snow City was filled with the cries of women and children begging for mercy. under the surveillance of several low-altitude satellites. This kind of video was broadcasted all over the world. Even the martial artists who went out to train received the video through the martial artist's auxiliary device. Seeing these videos, Li Junyang clenched his teeth, and his eyes were filled with anger. He clenched his fists even tighter. He did not know how the high-level martial artists who saw these videos would feel, but he knew that the junior-class martial artists could not sit still and do nothing. Chapter 158. Sixth update. Chapter 3. More than an hour later, the whole ice-snow city was covered with corpses, and thick black smoke was rising from every corner of the city. The Zichan Kingdom's soldiers had advanced equipment. No matter if they were hiding in the sewers or in the basements, they were all found. After cleaning the city, the Zichan Kingdom's soldiers began to take a short break. Most of them took off their armor and cleaned up the bloodstains on them. Originally, in the Villa District cinema, there were many young women gathered. The number of people had reached more than 3,000. The small cinema was a bit crowded. The Zichan Kingdom's soldiers didn't immediately attack them, because after a short break, they still had to clean the next city. Out of millions of people, more than 3,000 young women were selected. All of them were very beautiful. Earth's beauty standards were the same as the Star Kingdom's. There's one more here. At this moment, a Zichan Kingdom's soldier pushed a young woman over. This young woman had long hair, thick makeup on her face, wearing a red dress. She looked very beautiful. She was found by a Zichan Kingdom's soldier in the basement of a small building. Because she was a beautiful young woman, she had a chance to survive. This young woman was pushed into a group of dispirited women. To the soldiers of the Star Empire, these women were too weak to even trust a chicken. They posed no threat at all. Therefore, they didn't search them. They weren't very strict with them either. After the young woman in the red dress entered the group of women, she quickly squeezed into the innermost corner of the cinema. She found that no matter from which angle, they couldn't see what she was going to do. Soon, the young woman took out a closed martial arts auxiliary device from under her dress. After turning on the martial arts auxiliary device, she immediately sent out the video recorded by the martial arts auxiliary device. These videos were all taken at close range, including the Zichan Kingdom's soldiers killing children, old people, babies, and collecting beautiful women. Turning on the martial arts auxiliary device to send out such a message will definitely be discovered. After the video was sent out, the young woman knew that there wasn't much time left, so she immediately sent out a message. Class leader and fellow students of the junior class, goodbye. This is all I can do for you. Send these videos out and let those martial artists see them. Ask them, this is the home they should be protecting. Where were they when the civilians were being killed? After sending this message, the girl turned off the martial artist auxiliary device. Soon, the soldiers of the Zichan Kingdom who hadn't taken off their armors noticed the electromagnetic signal from the auxiliary device. Two of the Zichan Empire's soldiers pushed the women aside and walked towards the girl. The young girl placed the martial arts auxiliary tool at the corner of the wall. She stood up, raised her hand, and wiped her head. The wig on her head was removed, and she used her sleeve to wipe her face, revealing her dark skin. It turned out that he was a young man who looked to be of mixed Eastern and Western descent. Under the shocked gazes of the women, the young man tore off the red dress on his body, revealing a pink bra and a woman's fake breasts. These two things were also torn off by him. Looking at the two Zichan Empire soldiers, the young man spat on the ground. The young man was not armed. He looked at the ground and saw a brick. Thus, he picked it up. The young man was clearly a warrior. His naked upper body was full of muscles, and there were many wounds on his body, bite marks, claw marks. The two Zichan Empire soldiers had already seen the young man. They were surprised and looked at each other. A man was able to sneak in here? When they saw the torn red dress, wig, and fake breasts on the ground, they immediately understood. Not to mention, the young man was not that big, and his face was small. It would be hard to see through his disguise as a woman. My name is Wang Haolong. Remember, the young man suddenly roared, raised the brick in his hand, and rushed towards one of the Zichan Empire soldiers. The Zichin Empire soldier dodged, but the sword in his hand only shook a little, and it slashed across Wang Haolong's neck. Wang Haolong, who was covering his neck, turned around and looked at the two Zichin Empire soldiers and laughed. But soon his face turned pale, and he fell to the ground with a smile on his face. Wang Haolong. Thousands of miles away from the ice snow city, Li Junyang painfully roared. But thousands of miles away, how could Wang Haolong hear him? Wang Haolong used his life to send a precious video out, showing the brutality of the aliens. Other than beautiful women, they didn't even let go of pregnant women and babies. Although the satellites in the sky could clearly record what was happening in the city, they were banned from broadcasting because they didn't want chaos in the city. Because of this, most of the civilians didn't know what was going on. This was unfair, because if the Zichin Empire soldiers came, the martial artists could leave with their families, and the civilians would become bait for the Zichin Empire soldiers. Li Junyang, with tears in his eyes, sent out the video that Wang Haolong had collected and the video of Wang Haolong before he died. Then, the junior class members would find a way to let the civilians know about these videos. They weren't afraid of chaos in the world. In a situation like this, when there was peace, there would be more danger. Huff! Huff! After 4 hours of intense battle, Yang Tian, Zichin, and Ji Wei were all breathing heavily. But their speed was still as fast as when they were at their peak, just that their strength was weaker. The little blue dragon next to them was covered in wounds, and there was a lot of dragon blood on its body. Compared to 4 hours ago, the little blue dragon looked a lot worse. The little blue dragon had paid such a heavy price, and more than half of the Zichin Empire soldiers had died. Now, there were only 30 Meteor Star warriors and 4 Meteor Star generals left. Peng Peng, Yang Tian, Zichin, and Ji Wei clashed again, and both of their swords slashed through each other, leaving wounds on each other's body. The wounds weren't deep, but blood quickly flowed out. There were many wounds like this on their bodies. On Yang Tian's face, there was a wound, and it was still bleeding. In such a high-intensity battle, even if their bodies had a strong recovery ability, their wounds wouldn't be able to heal in time. After the two separated, they didn't attack each other again. The little blue dragon was also in a state of pause. At this time, they both needed a short rest. That was because it was time to determine the outcome of the battle. Chapter 159. Chapter 6. The fourth update. Ice and Snow City was finished. Weibo City, which was the closest city to Ice and Snow City, was to the north of Ice and Snow City. Everyone who received the news felt the danger and packed up their belongings to escape. Most of these people were martial artists and their family members, as they were the first to receive the news. Weibo City was not like Ice and Snow City, which was ruled by a single person. Like Tianxiong City, it was controlled by the Martial Arts Association. The president of the Martial Arts Association, Bernard, was a level 8 martial artist. After he saw the video from the satellite, he prepared to escape Weibo City. Before Ice and Snow City fell, he had already asked his family to pack up their belongings and arrange for a private plane. Even the strongest martial artist in the city had done this, let alone the rest of the martial artists in the city. Bernard's subordinates followed suit. They did not have the courage to stay. It hasn't even been 10 hours since the Zichin Empire's soldiers arrived on Earth. Ordinary people only know that aliens have arrived on Earth. Most of them don't know that these aliens have come to Earth to kill them all and clean up the entire Earth. While the martial artists and their family members were packing up, the commoners' lives were still as normal. They were very relaxed. They were not worried about the aliens' attack, but about the ultra beasts outside the city. At this time, many people were watching television at home. Most of the television programs were from before the YS virus outbreak. They had been preserved until now, such as television programs, movies, and educational programs. The television signals were transmitted via satellite. Although the ultra beasts were rampant, human technology had not regressed. Instead, it had improved. Almost at the same time, the TV screen in Weibo City suddenly changed to a different program, and a video appeared. The television was playing a video of Wang Haolong using his martial artist auxiliary device. It also showed the scene before Wang Haolong's death. Other than the image, there was also sound. This scene shocked everyone who saw it. They did not expect that the aliens who had come to Earth would be so cruel to humans. They did not even spare babies and pregnant women. This was obviously not a television program, nor was it an action movie. It was something that had happened in real life. In this era, there was no television or movie company that could film such a realistic scene. After the video ended, a paragraph of text appeared. Class leader and fellow students of the junior class, goodbye. This is all I can do for you. Send these videos out and let those martial artists see them. Ask them, this is the home they should be protecting. Were they when the civilians were being killed? Those words were spoken by Wang Haolong before his death. At the end of this paragraph, Wang Haolong's name was displayed, as well as an introduction to him. Although they had already seen it in the video, when they saw it again, most people were agitated. They were touched and angry at the same time. They were moved by Wang Haolong's actions. At the same time, they were furious at the actions of the martial artists. Because until they saw this video, they were still in the dark. Some people even said that aliens were very friendly, and there were still people who believed this kind of nonsense. After the text was displayed, it was followed by a video of the battle between Yang Tian and the little blue dragon in the Antarctic ice field. This video was taken by satellite, but it was very clear. At the bottom of this video, there was a description. Yang Tian and his pet beast had been in the south for several hours. They were facing the strongest person in the Purple Star Empire. For the safety of mankind, they could have left the Earth, but they chose to stay. And our martial artists have been watching as if they were watching a show. They might still be thinking, after Yang Tian's defeat, where can they escape to? Or maybe they are thinking about the possibility of surviving if the Purple Star Empire surrenders. These words mocked the martial artists until they were dripping with fresh blood. It has been dozens of years. The spirit of the first generation of martial artists has long been lost. After the video of Yang Tian's battle ended, the program switched to the original screen. This was a special program that was broadcasted to the whole world at the same time by satellite. Moreover, it was introduced in different languages for different regions. And the initiators of this were more than 1,000 students from the junior class. In the hero city. In the TV satellite signal control room, a blond boy laughed. In this control room, the staff members from before had already been knocked unconscious. In the control room alone, this boy was very proud. Bang! Suddenly, the door of the control room was knocked open, and a blond, middle-aged man barged in. Kite, what have you done? When a middle-aged man saw the boy who was only 15 or 16 years old, he was furious. Daddy, don't be angry, I think I did the right thing. Kite looked at his angry father and said proudly, You, get out. Kite's father didn't know what to do, so he could only yell at him. Daddy, don't be angry, I'll leave now. Kite said with a smile. After he said that, he quickly ran out of the control room, leaving his distressed father behind. This child, I shouldn't have let him become a martial artist. Kite's father helplessly shook his head and said, This boy named Kite was also a member of the junior class. After leaving the control room, Kite immediately sent a message to the other members of the class. Actually, he didn't need to send a message. Everyone already knew. Now, everyone in the world knew about the massacre of humans by the Purple Star tribe. Kite did this to take credit, and he was very proud of it. This was normal. Only hot-blooded youths would do something like this. Compared to them, the older martial artists seemed to be lethargic. The junior class was not divided into regions or countries, and there were members everywhere. Among them, Li Juanyang's contribution was the greatest. He had united these young martial artists who looked up to Yang Tian as their idol. After Kite returned home, he immediately packed up his weapons and equipment. At the same time, in Hero City, Mark, Nora, Steward Wu, Qin Fei's parents, Qin Yunlong, and Shui were all ready to depart. They would not go to the South Pole directly. Instead, they would head to a few cities near Snow City. They knew that with their strength, they wouldn't be able to help Yang Tian even if they went to the South Pole. Instead, they would only cause trouble for Yang Tian. It was better to do their best to unite some people and resist the attack of the Purple Star Kingdom's warriors. The cold wind whistled. Buzz, the saber in Yang Tian's hand, vibrated again. He had a premonition that the next battle would be a decisive one. Yang Tian, you're very strong. I've decided to advance to the realm of Star-Lord. You're my sacrifice. At this time, Zichen Jiwei raised his saber and pointed it at Yang Tian. He spoke in a language that he wasn't very familiar with. Advance to Star-Lord? Yang Tian was stunned. Zichen Jiwei was now a Star King, and Star-Lord was one level higher than Star King. If Zichen Jiwu advanced to Star-Lord, he would definitely lose. Then, he could only use the forbidden technique he used to defeat Du Tianxiong. Perhaps, only then would he have a chance to kill Zichen Jiwei, who was about to become a Star-Lord. However, Yang Tian didn't expect the next situation at all. He just realized that the gap between Star King and Star-Lord was too big. Chapter 160. Sixth update. Chapter 5. Zichen Jiwei looked at Yang Tian with a smile on his face. From his purple belt, he took off a silver-white thing that looked like a metal button and crushed it in his hand. Previously, Yang Tian did not notice anything special about this button and thought that it was just a decoration. But looking at Zichen Jiwei's actions, it is obvious that this thing is very important to him. At the same time, Zichen Jiwei's hand that was holding the metal button suddenly turned purple. The purple color followed his hands and instantly covered his entire body and then entered his skin. This purple color is like it has a life of its own. At this time, Zichen Jiwei's eyes lit up with a thick purple light, which looked very strange. In the whistling cold wind, Zichen Jiwei's aura began to increase at an extremely fast speed. Before, Yang Tian did not feel any pressure from Zichen Jiwei. Instead, he felt that the other party was weaker than him. But now it is different. As Zichen Jiwei's aura increased, an invisible aura began to oppress Yang Tian, making Yang Tian have a feeling of being unable to breathe. Yang Tian is very unhappy with this feeling. No one is willing to be oppressed. His mind immediately entered his Dragon Ball space. Boom! With an explosion, the black dot in the Dragon Ball space suddenly became bigger under Yang Tian's control and emitted a black light. The light is not black. If the light was black, it would not be called light. But in Yang Tian's Dragon Ball space, this light is a mysterious black color. Perhaps this wasn't light, but a strange energy that was similar to light. But its speed was as fast as light. This powerful energy rushed out from the Dragon Ball space and instantly rushed into Yang Tian's body. Under the infusion of this powerful energy, Yang Tian's aura also increased at an extremely fast speed. Not only his aura, Yang Tian's body also changed. The skin all over his body suddenly became wrinkled. Under this seemingly dry skin, something gradually protruded and cracked the wrinkled skin, causing the skin to fall off. Yang Tian's body, in a few breaths, was covered with black scales. Beast! Transformation! This situation made Zichen Jiwei very surprised. From his mouth, these two English words were spat out. Beast transformation. Obviously, Zichen Jiwei has seen a strong person like Yang Tian before, which is why he said these words. Although he is surprised by Yang Tian, Zichen Jiwei's purple eyes are still filled with strong confidence. The powerful energy flowing through his body caused Yang Tian extreme pain. It was as if his body was being cut by knives and pierced by needles. This is already the second time Yang Tian's cultivation realmed forcefully. He knew that this method of harming the body and using powerful energy wouldn't last long. Next, he had to end this battle as soon as possible. Although it seemed like a long process, in reality, the two of them had completed the process of raising their cultivation realms in just a few minutes. After forcibly raising his cultivation realm, Yang Tian didn't know whether his own cultivation realm had already reached the Star-Lord level. However, Zichen Jiwei's aura no longer pressured him. Buzz, buzz, pop. After raising his cultivation realm, Yang Tian controlled the power in his body and gathered it towards the blade in his hand. However, the alloy blade, made of YT elements, simply couldn't withstand his power. It only trembled a few times before it broke into several pieces and fell to the ice. Yang Tian smiled bitterly as he looked at the hilt and the blade, which was only a few centimeters long. At this time, the purple light in Chanji Wei's eyes gradually dimmed. Without the blade, Yang Tian still had claws. His hand were covered with soft and fine black scales. Under Yang Tian's control, sharp black claws grew out of his fingers. Chanji Wei also threw away the black blade in his hand. The next battle between the two of them depended on their hands. Not far away, the little blue dragon and the soldiers besieging the little blue dragon had already turned their heads and looked at the two of them. The reason for that was because their auras were simply too powerful. For the warriors of the Zichan Empire who were besieging Little Azure Dragon, the next battle between Yang Tian and their leader was the deciding factor. If Yang Tian were to win, it was certain that the corpses of these 10,000 people would be left on this planet. If Chanji Wei won, they would be able to achieve their goal. This mission wasn't as easy as they thought it would be for the Zichan Empire soldiers. Most importantly, on this exiled planet, there was a powerful human like Yang Tian and a powerful star beast. They had underestimated Yang Tian's strength and the power that he had. Pong, under the watchful eyes of the dozens of soldiers and the little blue dragon, Chanji Wei suddenly moved. His feet stomped on the ice, causing the ice beneath his feet to shatter as he charged towards Yang Tian with lightning speed. In Yang Tian's eyes, Chun and Ji Wei, who were charging at him, had already clenched their fists and was about to punch his chest. There was also a faint purple light condensed on this fist. Clearly, this was a physical manifestation of his power. Power existed in a living being's body, but it wasn't physical. It was colorless, formless, and unpredictable. But for Yang Tian, Chun, and Ji Wei, the formless power had already become physical. On Yang Tian's dragon claws, there was also a black power. This power enveloped Yang Tian's claws and his entire body. Boom! Yang Tian punched towards Chanji Wei. Their fists didn't come into contact with each other, but the power on their fists collided with each other, and there was a deafening sound of thunder. Yang Tian's body was immediately sent flying. With a pong sound, he sank into a huge ice block that was a few meters deep. Chanji Wei, on the other hand, stopped and quickly took a few steps back under such a strong impact. Pong! But soon, Chanji Wei came back to his senses. He once again stepped on the hard ice and charged toward Yang Tian. Crack! Yang Tian struggled, and the huge ice block that was wrapped around him was shattered by him. One of the huge ice blocks appeared in front of Yang Tian, and Yang Tian punched toward it. Pong! Both of their fists hit the ice block at the same time, and they directly penetrated the thick ice block. The powerful energy once again collided with each other, and the ice block was shattered into powdery ice shards. Chanji Wei made the first move, and he had the upper hand. For a moment, Yang Tian could only deal with it passively. Taking advantage of this collision, Yang Tian quickly retreated and opened up the distance between him and Chanji Wei. But how could Chanji Wei let Yang Tian take the initiative and chase after him? Pong! When Chanji Wei charged toward him again, Yang Tian didn't want to meet him head-on. He dodged to the side, and Chanji Wei's punch landed on the ice mountain behind Yang Tian. This was a real ice mountain, and it was one of the two ice mountains that made up this ice valley. Chanji Wei's punch shattered a large chunk of ice, and it collapsed with a boom. Chapter 161. Sixth update. Chapter 6. Large chunks of ice fell down, and Chanji Wei dodged to the side. Rumble. The earth quaked, and the mountains shook, as if an avalanche had occurred. The falling chunks of ice shook the ice surface. Now, it was Yang Tian's turn to attack. Yang Tian did not use his fists, but his dragon claws. Hiss! Taking advantage of when Zi Chunji Wei dodged the ice, Yang Tian seized the opportunity and rushed towards Zi Chunji Wei. His claws waved rapidly, turning the hard ice in front of him into ice shards. In just a flash, Yang Tian arrived in front of Zi Chunji Wei. Facing Yang Tian's rapidly waving claws, Zi Chunji Wei quickly retreated. This situation was just like before, except that the two of them had swapped the attacking and defending roles. If he was grabbed by Yang Tian's claws, Zi Chunji Wei would be seriously injured even if he did not die. However, even in a passive situation, Zi Chunji Wei's eyes still did not have the slightest trace of panic, and his expression was also extremely calm. Purple light. When Yang Tian's claws were about to touch Zi Chunji Wei's body, Zi Chunji Wei spat out 2 words from his mouth. Zi Chunji Wei said it in his own language. However, Yang Tian was able to understand. That was because the translation device given to him by Yang Nancy was in his ears. Purple light. At this critical moment, Zi Chunji Wei actually said these 2 words. Yang Tian felt that it was strange, but his hands did not stop. When Zi Chunji Wei's voice fell, suddenly, Yang Tian felt that a purple light appeared in his eyes, and Zi Chunji Wei's body disappeared from this purple light. Yang Tian was surprised, but he still moved forward quickly, waving his claws, and rushed out a purple light. In an instant, Yang Tian's eyes darkened, and the purple light disappeared. Bang! At this time, a powerful force hit Yang Tian's back. Yang Tian did not have time to dodge, and his body flew out involuntarily. The powerful force passed through the black scales, skin, and muscles on Yang Tian's back, and shook Yang Tian's internal organs to the point of pain. Bang! Yang Tian's body flew out for more than 20 meters and crashed onto the ice. He slid along the ice for dozens of meters and only stopped when he was stopped by a piece of ice. Cough! Yang Tian felt an itch in his throat and a stuffy feeling in his chest. He could not help but cough twice before getting up from the ground. What just happened? Yang Tian did not understand, especially the purple light that suddenly appeared in his eyes. After he stood up, Zi Chunji Wei's appeared in his line of sight. Zi Chunji Wei looked at Yang Tian and said with a smile, "This is the true power of a Star Master. You don't have it." In his smile, there was a strong confidence, as if he could take Yang Tian's life in the next moment. Yang Tian felt that Zi Chunji Wei's words were too stuttering, so he reminded him and asked curiously, "You can speak your language, I can understand. Just now, what happened?" Yang Tian had already gained Zi Chunji Wei's respect. He looked at Yang Tian and said with a smile in his own language, "You still don't know how to truly use your own power, because you don't have the technique to use your power. It's like using a complicated tool. If you don't have the technique, you won't be able to use it." Yang Tian nodded. Indeed, when it came to using his own power, the technique was too simple. In most cases, he only relied on brute force. Zi Chunji Wei looked at Yang Tian and nodded. He smiled and raised his hand. In his hand, a purple light suddenly appeared. This purple light was clearly the power that Zi Chunji Wei released. When this power appeared, it was like a bubble, wrapping Zi Chunji Wei's body and emitting an extremely strong light. But soon, this light disappeared. Zi Chunji Wei looked at Yang Tian and said, "I use my power to wrap myself, and I can instantly double my speed. Yang Tian, you're no longer my opponent. Do you want to surrender? If you surrender, I can bring you to the 4th prince alive. Maybe you'll have a chance to live. If you continue to fight, I will kill you." Yang Tian smiled and said, "If it were you, what would you choose?" "Of course I would choose to fight to the death," Zi Chunji Wei said. Yang Tian nodded. "Me too. I respect you a lot, but I have no choice but to kill you." Zi Chunji Wei's eyes were cold as he said coldly. Yang Tian focused and put all his attention on Zi Chunji Wei. In Yang Tian's heart, there was no feeling of fear. After going through many battles, Yang Tian knew that fear would only make a warrior weak and unable to unleash their peak strength. The energy in Yang Tian's body was not weaker than Zi Qinjiwei's. However, in terms of the technique of using his power, he was far inferior. Roar! At this moment, the little blue dragon rushed into the sky and let out a dragon's roar. This was not a roar, but a dragon's language. Yang Tian could understand the dragon's language and knew what the little blue dragon meant. Fusion of two pearls. When Yang Tian heard the little blue dragon say these words, he was surprised. Zi Qinjiwei was a very decisive person. He would not give Yang Tian any chance. Suddenly, he appeared in front of Yang Tian. Zi Qinjiwei used his new technique. His speed was so fast that Yang Tian could not react in time. Luckily, Yang Tian was paying attention to Zi Qinjiwei. When Zi Qinjiwei moved, he also moved. Puffed. The sound of something breaking through the air came from where Yang Tian was standing. What appeared before this sound was Zi Qinjiwei's figure. His punch missed and let out a sonic boom. The power of this punch was even stronger than the one that hit Yang Tian. Zi Qinjiwei really wanted to kill Yang Tian, and he wanted to kill him with a single blow. The little blue dragon in the sky suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a dragon ball the size of a football. This dragon ball had already turned crimson red, as if it was condensed from blood, but its surface was extremely smooth. As soon as this dragon ball appeared, Yang Tian felt that the dragon ball in his chest also reacted. A familiar feeling instantly appeared in Yang Tian's mind. He seemed to have experienced this situation before. Yang Tian opened his mouth and a black, finger-sized black pearl was spat out by Yang Tian. The two dragon balls, one red and one black, collided in an instant. A dazzling black-red light suddenly lit up. In this light, Yang Tian could feel that his black dragon ball had absorbed a huge amount of energy in an instant. In this black-red light, Yang Tian opened his mouth and his dragon ball returned and was swallowed into his mouth. At this moment, the little blue dragon's dragon ball had disappeared. Yang Tian knew that the little blue dragon had fused its dragon ball with his dragon ball. The red dragon ball was equivalent to the little blue dragon's life. Once it was lost, the little blue dragon would die. The little blue dragon's actions were equivalent to handing its life over to Yang Tian. Now, this was the only way. If it didn't do this and combine the power of one man and one beast, Yang Tian wouldn't be able to defeat Zi Qinjiwei. After the fusion, Yang Tian's power was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. This fusion looked mysterious, but it was very simple. It was only the fusion of two types of energy. It was completely in line with the principles of physics and chemistry. If not for the blood contract between Yang Tian and the little blue dragon, it would have been impossible for them to fuse. It sounded very long, but the entire process took a very short time. In just a few blinks of an eye, it was completed. Chapter 162. Boom! After losing its dragon orb, the little blue dragon's mountain-like body fell from the sky and smashed into the hard ice, creating a large crater in the ice. Xiaolong. Seeing this situation, Yang Tian was horrified and could not help but cry out in pain. His body moved, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the little blue dragon's huge head. The little blue dragon opened its eyes and looked at Yang Tian weakly. Xiaolong, how are you? Yang Tian touched the little blue dragon's head and asked anxiously. The little blue dragon opened its mouth, but it could not even make a sound. Its pair of dragon eyes looked at Yang Tian, full of reluctance. This kind of gaze was like the gaze of a person who was about to die and was about to leave. At this time, Yang Tian felt that the aura on the little blue dragon's body was rapidly weakening. Huff! Yang Tian was panicking, but at this time, a meteor star general rushed over. This person thought that Yang Tian was distracted and wanted to take advantage of him. Hearing the sound of the wind behind him, Yang Tian turned around and punched out. Pong! A powerful force burst out from Yang Tian's fist and hit the meteor star general's body. This meteor star general did not even have time to scream before his entire body exploded into a bloody mist by Yang Tian's powerful energy. Yang Tian had never felt that he was so powerful. Even Zi Chunji Wei, who was not far away, was no longer his opponent, killing a general of the meteor star level with a single punch. This kind of powerful technique was really too shocking. Even Zi Chunji Wei was extremely shocked. After killing one of the generals, Yang Tian turned around and found that the little blue dragon had closed its eyes. Xiaolong, don't worry. I'll come and save you soon. Yang Tian gritted his teeth as he watched the little blue dragon's life force rapidly diminish. After he finished speaking, his body flashed and disappeared on the spot. Pung, 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 pung. Yang Tian quickly passed through the soldiers of the Zichen Empire. All of the Purple Star Clan warriors who were hit by Yang Tian, whether they were Meteor Star warriors or Meteor Star warriors, their bodies were crushed by Yang Tian's powerful strength. They were torn into pieces, and even their extremely strong armor couldn't protect their bodies. Planetary State General. Not far away, Zichun and Ji Wei, who saw this scene, opened their eyes wide and exclaimed in shock. Yang Tian's strength before was equivalent to a Meteor Star King. After forcibly raising his cultivation level, his strength was equivalent to a Meteor Star Lord. Now, Yang Tian's strength had surpassed the domain lord of the meteorite star and the planet-level warrior. His strength had reached the planet-level warlord level. This was equivalent to advancing 3 levels. Of course, this was because the Dragon Balls in Yang Tian's body and the little blue dragon's Dragon Balls had merged into one. Yang Tian knew that his powerful strength wouldn't last for long. After the battle was over, he had to find a way to save the little blue dragon. There wasn't much time left for Yang Tian. Zichun and Ji Wei frowned as the fear of death appeared in their hearts. This was one of the few times he was in such a situation. Before becoming a Meteor Star Lord, Zichun and Ji Wei had experienced many life and death battles, but they had never been in such despair. Zichun and Ji Wei had the urge to run away. The formation disk, not far away, was emitting a bright blue light. As long as he stepped into the blue light, he would be able to leave this place. Zichun and Ji Wei believed that Yang Tian wouldn't chase after them. This was because there were still thousands of Zichen Empire soldiers on this planet. Yang Tian would definitely go to those cities to save them. After hesitating for a moment, Zichun and Ji Wei's tightly clenched fists suddenly loosened as a smile appeared on his face. He gave up on running away. This was because in his life, even if he was in the most dangerous situation, he would never escape without a fight. If he ran away this time, he believed that his cultivation level would forever remain at the Meteor Star Lord level, and he wouldn't be able to advance any further. This was undoubtedly a heavy blow to a person who had dreams and wanted to become an ultimate powerhouse. Puff! Suddenly, Yang Tian appeared in front of Zichun and Ji Wei. At this time, Yang Tian was less than 20 meters away from Zichun and Ji Wei. While Zichun and Ji Wei were hesitating, Yang Tian had already taken care of the Zichen Empire soldiers. In the entire Antarctic tundra, only Zichun and Ji Wei were left. Why aren't you leaving? Naturally, Yang Tian noticed Zichun and Ji Wei's hesitation. At this time, Yang Tian asked curiously. Zichun and Ji Wei looked at Yang Tian and shook their heads. I don't want to become a coward. Zichun and Ji Wei said this sentence in English that they were not very familiar with. They didn't know whether the little blue dragon was dead or alive. Yang Tian didn't have time to waste with Zichun and Ji Wei, so he just nodded. Bang! Suddenly, Yang Tian moved. In an instant, he appeared above Zichun and Ji Wei and punched down. Zichun and Ji Wei knew that they couldn't win against Yang Tian, but they wouldn't let Yang Tian kill them. They wanted to use their best power to have a final battle with Yang Tian. But Zichun and Ji Wei still underestimated Yang Tian's power. Buff! There was a sound of impact. Zichun and Ji Wei used their power and techniques to cover their bodies in purple light. When they wanted to quickly move away, they suddenly felt that they had hit an invisible energy shield. The air around them seemed to be compressed, and he felt a powerful confinement force. Zichun and Ji Wei were shocked, and their eyes were wide open. This only lasted for a split second. Boom! Zichun and Ji Wei's body was punched dozens of meters deep into the ice by Yang Tian's punch. Zichun and Ji Wei, who had been hit in the head, had their brains shaken into paste by the powerful force. In the ice layer that was dozens of meters deep, he opened his eyes wide and raised his head. His dim eyes reflected the pattern of stars in the sky. After paying a great price, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon had finally taken care of the most powerful warriors of the Zichun kingdom. As for the rest of the Zichun kingdom's warriors, Yang Tian didn't even think about it. He didn't even look at Zichun and Ji Wei's body as he walked in front of the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon was still in the same state as before. It was lying in the ice pit that was created by its own body. Its eyes were closed, and it looked like a dragon carved out of stone. The little blue dragon was no longer breathing, and Yang Tian couldn't sense any signs of life from it. Xiaolong! Xiaolong! Yang Tian's eyes were red as he shook his giant dragon head and kept on calling out to the little blue dragon. His voice sounded like he was about to cry. Yang Tian had already treated the little blue dragon as his own brother. Ever since Tianxiong City, the little blue dragon had always been by his side. At this time, Yang Tian's mind was filled with this guy's cute and mischievous look. Yang Tian understood that if it wasn't for the little blue dragon, he wouldn't be where he was now. He might not even be a warrior. That time when he went to Qin Lao's house, he wouldn't have caught the eye of Qin Lao. Perhaps he would have already been forced to break up with Qin Fei, and he was arranged to work in the factory where his parents worked. Working from 9 to 5, Yang Tian shouted for a long time, but the little blue dragon didn't respond at all. Xiaolong was dead. It can't be. Yang Tian clenched his teeth and forced himself to calm down. Only by calming down can he think. Chapter 163. Once a person calms down and thinks, many things can be thought through clearly. Yang Tian immediately realized that the reason why the little blue dragon is like this is because it lost the Dragon Ball. If the Dragon Ball is returned to the little blue dragon will definitely wake up. However, Yang Tian's Dragon Ball and the little blue dragon's Dragon Ball have already fused together and cannot be separated so easily. If the Dragon Ball is given to the little blue dragon, Yang Tian will lose his powerful strength. Previously, Yang Tian swallowed a level 10 beast core plus the power of the Dragon Ball. His strength is equivalent to a Star King. If he loses the Dragon Ball, not only will he be demoted, but in future battles, he will no longer have the ability to transform and will no longer have abnormal endurance. In other words, Yang Tian will become an ordinary warrior like others. But Yang Tian didn't hesitate at all and felt how he moved the Dragon Ball out of his body. Previously, because the little blue dragon's Dragon Ball attracted the Dragon Ball in Yang Tian's body, Yang Tian can easily move the Dragon Ball out of his body. But now it is different. Yang Tian has no experience in this area. Yang Tian closed his eyes and carefully tried to comprehend it. What Yang Tian didn't know is that on an iceberg in the distance, a woman is looking at him with binoculars. This woman is Du Mei. Since the warriors of the Zichun Empire came to Earth and Yang Tian fought with them, Du Mei has a premonition that maybe she has a chance to take revenge. At that time, maybe Yang Tian will be injured. With this idea, Du Mei specially booked a small plane. After a long flight, after several hours of tossing and turning, and after experiencing several dangers, she finally arrived here safely. Who told Yang Tian's place to be constantly monitored by the satellites in the sky? Du Mei had seen everything that had happened just now through the binoculars. Du Mei was very surprised by Yang Tian's strength. She didn't expect that in such a short period of time, Yang Tian's realm has improved again. On the road to becoming a powerhouse, it is like sitting on a rocket. Du Mei couldn't help but feel despair in her heart, thinking that maybe in this life, she won't be able to take revenge. However, Du Mei didn't leave and still watched Yang Tian's every move. Half an hour later, Yang Tian finally opened his eyes. At this time, he already felt that he grasped a trick. Under the control of Yang Tian's mind, the Dragon Ball that had always been in his chest appeared in his mouth and flew out of his mouth. This Dragon Ball was originally a black dot. After Yang Tian forcibly increased his realm, it became the size of a pinky finger. When it fused with the little blue dragon's Dragon Ball, it changed from black to red with a hint of black. It looked a bit strange. After this Dragon Ball was spat out, Yang Tian held in his hand and put it into the little blue dragon's mouth. Uffed! When the Dragon Ball entered the little blue dragon's mouth, Yang Tian suddenly felt extremely weak. There was a burst of frustration in his chest, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The injury from before, without the support of strong energy, finally flared up. Crack, crack! Suddenly, the little blue dragon's body moved, and the ice under its body made a slight friction sound. At the same time, the little blue dragon also breathed. This was a good sign, and it made Yang Tian very happy. The huge stone in his heart finally fell. The little blue dragon won't die. Yang Tian laughed. Soon, Yang Tian felt a burst of sleepiness and wanted to sleep. Before he closed his eyes, he looked around. At this time, a bright light appeared in Yang Tian's eyes and flashed away. There seemed to be someone. Yang Tian lowered his head and frowned. At this time, he was at his weakest. Although the little blue dragon looked fine, it did not wake up. Yang Tian's heart was full of vigilance. Although his body and mind were very tired, he still cheered himself up and tried not to let himself fall asleep. The cunning Yang Tian even deliberately closed his eyes. Dumei saw Yang Tian vomiting blood through the binoculars, and his expression became dispirited. She could not help but become excited. It seemed that Yang Tian was injured. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If she missed it, she probably would not encounter such a good thing again in her life. Dumei slid down the ice mountain, put down her backpack, and ran towards Yang Tian with her dagger. Today, Dumei had become a level 5 warrior with Du Xiongwen's help, and her strength had increased rapidly. After burying her parents, she trained hard. She went out to train a few times and almost died in the mouths of exotic beasts. Yang Tian's road to success had become a model. Many young warriors imitated Yang Tian, taking risks alone and training themselves in life-threatening situations. Many of the young warriors who did this had died, but many of them had succeeded. Dumei was undoubtedly a success. That was why she became a level 5 warrior at such a young age. If she continued training like this, catching up to Du Xiongwen would not be a problem. After a few minutes, Dumei stood in front of Yang Tian. Yang Tian was leaning on the little blue dragon's neck with his head lowered, as if he had fallen asleep. The Azure Dragon was the same. This made Dumei very excited. Looking at Yang Tian, Dumei raised the dagger in her hand, ready to pounce forward and cut off Yang Tian's neck at any time. But what she did not know was that even if Yang Tian was weak, a level 5 warrior like her would not be able to kill him. Ding! At this moment, the warrior assistive device on Dumei's wrist rang with a notification. This was a notification for receiving a message. Hearing this sound, Dumei was shocked. Her body could not help but tremble. She was afraid that Yang Tian would wake up. She did not know why, but Dumei looked at Yang Tian in front of her. Even if Yang Tian was injured and unconscious, she was still afraid. Perhaps it was because of the thousands of corpses of Azichan Kingdom soldiers nearby, or because Yang Tian had defeated her father and second uncle, or because Yang Tian had killed Frenzy. All of these things that Yang Tian had done had left a shadow in Dumei's heart. While Dumei was hesitating, the little blue dragon moved again. Whoosh! From the little blue dragon's nostrils, 2 scorching dragon breaths were shot out. At the same time, the little blue dragon also opened its eyes. When the little blue dragon saw Yang Tian leaning on it, and Dumei holding her dagger, it knew what had happened. Dumei did not expect the dragon in front of her to suddenly wake up. She was stunned for a moment, and when she finally reacted, she quickly retreated. Boom! The little blue dragon opened its mouth and shot out a dragon flame at Dumei. The scorching dragon flame was very fast. In an instant, it had caught up with Dumei, and Dumei's body was enveloped by it. Even a Zichin Kingdom's meteor-level warrior could not resist the dragon flame, let alone a level 5 warrior. Dumei's body was instantly turned into a pile of charcoal. When the little blue dragon woke up, Yang Tian was finally relieved and closed his eyes. Chapter 164. Dumei was a pitiful woman, and Yang Tian didn't want to kill her. However, after she was burned to death by the little blue dragon, Yang Tian didn't feel guilty. Although this woman's strength was low, she was like a venomous snake, hibernating at the side and coldly watching him. When he was weak, she would deliver a fatal blow. It was good that the little blue dragon had taken care of this problem. Yang Tian fell into a deep sleep, and the little blue dragon also closed its eyes and remained motionless. The ice field regained its tranquility, and only the whistling of the cold wind could be heard. The little blue dragon didn't fall asleep. Every once in a while, it would open its eyes and look around. When it found that nothing was wrong, it would close its eyes again. In Hero City, the warriors who saw the results of the battle finally let out a sigh of relief. The strongest enemy had been taken care of by Yang Tian, and the remaining warriors of the Zichin Empire were much easier to deal with. Li Junyang smiled happily when he saw the results of the battle. At this time, Li Junyang was in Weibo City. This city was smaller than Ice Snow City, but the number of warriors gathered here was several times more than that of Ice Snow City. Moreover, more than half of these martial artists had rushed over from other cities. They were prepared to fight to the death. After the warriors of the junior class spread the news, hundreds of thousands of people marched in all the major cities in the world. They raised slogans and asked the warriors in the cities to go out and resist the alien attack. The tragic state of Ice Snow City had shocked everyone. Li Junyang and the others had made the right bet. Every city had no choice but to send warriors to Weibo City or other cities near Ice Snow City. Everyone wasn't stupid. They knew the strength of the Zichin Empire's warriors. If they didn't unite, the Zichin Empire's warriors would destroy one city after another. In the end, it would be their turn. Due to the pressure, many warriors were sent out. However, most of these warriors were young and low-level warriors. The strongest was only level 6. As for the high-level martial artists, because of their superior status, no one could order them to do anything. They were still in a wait-and-see mode. This also showed that the higher the status of a martial artist, the more afraid they were of death. This was because they had superior living conditions, such as money, beautiful women, luxurious mansions, status, power, and everything else. If they were careless and killed, they would lose all of these things. This was also the reason why most of the high-level warriors had fallen when the world was in a state of peace. Although their leader was killed, the thousands of Zichin Empire soldiers didn't leave because they were ordered to clean up the planet, kill Yang Tian, and bring back Yang Tian's body. Even if their leader was dead, if they didn't complete the mission, they would be severely punished. After leaving behind 100 or so Zichin Kingdom soldiers to guard the women, the thousands of Zichin Kingdom soldiers continued towards the nearest city, Weibo City. Of course, the preparations of the human race couldn't be hidden from the people of Zichin Empire, but they didn't care about it at all. Except for the terrifying Yang Tian and the star beast in the Antarctic ice field, they didn't care about the rest of the human race. The speed of the Zichin Kingdom soldiers was very fast. In less than an hour, they would reach Weibo City. The martial artists of Weibo City were already making their final preparations. The commoners of the city, especially the women, children, and the elderly, were already under the escort of some martial artists, fleeing in groups. As for the young men, they all picked up defensive weapons. Although they were useless against the Zichin Kingdom soldiers, they wouldn't let themselves be slaughtered. Li Junyang looked at the 100 youths in front of him and asked with a serious face, "Is everyone ready?" "Ready." The 100 youths, all 16 or 17 years old, answered in unison. The place where Li Junyang and the others were at was a small school's playground. The 100 or so people standing there seemed to be very sparse, but their voices were very loud and clear, spreading far and wide. These youths knew that they might die in the next moment. but their eyes were blazing with flames of vengeance. As long as you're ready, there's still about an hour. Everyone start writing your wills. If you die in the coming battle, your auxiliary devices will immediately send your wills to your families. Moreover, these wills will be made known to the world. Li Junyang said as he tightened the explosives on his body to prevent them from falling off during the battle. These explosives were specially made. In a small area, they could produce a temperature of several thousand degrees that could even melt steel. It should be no problem to use them against the Zichen Kingdom's quasi-meteor warriors. This was all thanks to the dead Wang Haolong. According to the video he'd taken, the junior class had calculated the weakness of the purple armor and specially made these explosives. These youths all came from well-off families. Otherwise, they wouldn't have become martial artists at such a young age. These 100 or so youths had all come here on their own. Even their families didn't know. Not far away, behind a wall, the level 7 martial artist Li Yuan saw this scene, and tears streamed down his face. These 100 or so youths were all still children. They weren't married yet, or perhaps they hadn't been in a relationship. They were usually bullies in the city, hated by many, but now they had come here with the determination to die. Why was this? Li Yuan couldn't figure it out for a while. Li Yuan couldn't stop his grandson, Li Junyang. He just shook his head and sighed, then turned and left. A few minutes later, the youths finished writing their wills. Next, let's deduce the battle process. On the city wall, we won't go there. It's useless to go there. Let's wait for them to rush into the city. Li Junyang waved his hand, and the youths gathered around. Li Junyang took the lead, and then everyone began to discuss how to kill the Zichen Kingdom's warriors. On the city wall, a woman in a red dress was very conspicuous. She was holding a pair of thorns, looking at the south expressionlessly. In that direction, the Zichen Kingdom's warriors would appear soon. At this moment, Zhu Hongzhu's heart was filled with the image of Yang Tian. She remembered the night when she fought with Yang Tian. When I was born, you weren't born. When you were born, I was already old. Zhu Hongyu murmured a few lines. She didn't know if it was a poem or a rhyme. Zheng Dalong stood behind Zhu Hongyu, holding a silver spear in his hand, quietly looking at Zhu Hongyu. Zhu Hongyu's murmur was naturally heard by Zheng Dalong. Zheng Dalong scratched his head and muttered, "Aren't you just complaining that you're old? You're too reserved." Zhu Hongyu turned around and looked into Zheng Dalong's eyes and said, "Dalong, you should leave. Wait, you'll die." Zheng Dalong looked into Zhu Hongyu's eyes. He wanted to say something, but stopped. Thinking that he was going to die soon, he mustered up his courage and said, "I want to die with you, hee." Chapter 165. Dalong. Zhu Hongyu looked at Zheng Dalong, not knowing what to say for a moment. She knew that nothing would happen between her and Yang Tian. This was not only because of the age gap, but also because Yang Tian would not like her at all. Zhu Hongyu did not know when it started, but Yang Tian's figure would often appear in her mind. She also thought that perhaps it was because she was almost raped by Du Xiongwu when she was young, which left a shadow in her heart. That was why she was not interested in men. Until that morning, when two warriors wanted to humiliate her, Yang Tian appeared again and saved her. It was because of this that Yang Tian's figure and his silly smile would often appear in her mind. Sometimes, people's emotions could not be controlled by themselves, especially between men and women. Zhu Hongyu also knew that Zheng Dalong liked her, and Zheng Dalong was very nice. However, she did not have any feelings for Zheng Dalong. "What is it?" Zheng Dalong was puzzled when he saw Zhu Hongyu looking at him without saying anything. Zhu Hongyu thought for a moment and said calmly, "Dalong, if there's a next life, I will marry you, okay?" Zheng Dalong scratched his head and smiled foolishly. He nodded vigorously and said, "Okay." Zhu Hongyu smiled as well. In a dark cave. Boom! Suddenly, the stone door was smashed into pieces. The light from outside shone through the broken stone door into a small stone room. A masked man in black was sitting cross-legged in the stone room. and the thing that broke the stone door was actually a giant green bird. This giant bird had green feathers all over its body. There was a red feather on its head and a beautiful 9-colored tail feather on its tail. It had a curved beak like an eagle's, and its claws were also similar to those of an eagle. Its body was 3 meters long. This stone room had been sealed for a long time. The man in black sitting cross-legged in the stone room was already covered in dust. There was also a lot of dust on his long black hair. When the giant green bird broke the stone room's door, the man in black suddenly opened his eyes. "Ha! Xiaoqing, what's the matter?" The man in black looked at the giant green bird and said with a smile, "G, G, G, G." The giant cyan bird looked at the black-clothed man and cried out a few times. What no one expected was that this huge green bird actually let out a chicken-like cry. The man in black could clearly understand the language of the giant green bird, just like how Yang Tian could understand the dragon language. The black-clothed man frowned after hearing what the giant green bird was trying to say. The dust on his eyebrows dispersed like smoke. "Mother asterisk cur, how dare you bully us earthlings? Little Ching, let's go." The man in black cursed and gritted his teeth. "Chirp, chirp." The giant cyan bird chirped excitedly. The man in black got up and shook off the dust on his body. Then he rolled up his long sleeves and looked at the electronic watch on his wrist that still showed the time. He said, "It's been more than 10 years. Time really flies. It's time to go out for a walk. I wonder how he's doing now." The black-clothed man muttered to himself. The giant green bird shook its head and looked curiously at the feet of the man in black. Pong! Ouch! Suddenly, the black-clothed man fell to the ground and let out a cry of pain. Seeing the black-clothed man fall to the ground, the giant green bird buried its head into its wings. Its body kept on trembling as if it was laughing. When did this rock come? Pong! After the black-clothed man got up from the ground, he looked at a black rock the size of a soccer ball on the ground. With a roar, he stomped on the rock. The black rock had been stomped into the ground by the black-clothed man. This was a cave, and the ground was made of hard rocks. Who knew how much strength was needed to stomp a rock the size of a soccer ball into the ground? Oomph! Looking at the black rock, the black-clothed man snorted unhappily and walked out of the cave. Thousands of people formed a purple wave that surged toward Weibo City at an incredible speed. On the walls of Weibo City, tens of thousands of martial artists gripped their weapons tightly. Most of these martial artists were between rank 1 and rank 5. Martial artists above rank 7, like Zhu Hongyu, were very rare. What was worth mentioning was that after a year, Zhu Hongyu had become a rank 7 martial artist. Behind her, Zheng Dalong had also become a rank 7 martial artist. It was very easy for a martial artist to level up from rank 1 to 7, because it was very easy to get beast cores from rank 1 to 7. Ever since Du Xiongwu's death, the new master of the Shenwei Martial Arts Hall had given out all the beast cores that were stored in the Shenwei Martial Arts Hall in order to win over more people. This was what many masters of Shenwei Martial Arts Halls did after they took office. When Du Xiongwu became the master of the Shenwei Martial Arts Hall, he did the same thing. Most of the rank 6 martial artists in the Shenwei Martial Arts Hall had obtained rank 7 beast cores and became rank 7 martial artists. Rank 7 martial artists already had a certain status in this world. If they didn't come here, no one could force them to. It was like an unspoken rule. Zhu Hongyu came here of her own accord. The Zichen Kingdom's warriors were very fast. After they appeared in the eyes of the martial artists on the city wall, they approached the tall city wall in less than 2 minutes. Rumble, the ground shook. The Weibo City's martial artists who were already prepared detonated the bombs that were buried more than 1,000 meters away from the city wall. The violent explosion caused the tall city walls to tremble. Under this level of explosion, dozens of Zichen Kingdom's quasi-meteor warriors were blown to pieces. More people were blown into the air by the airflow. The Zichen Kingdom's people didn't expect this at all. Their bodies were also made of flesh and blood. Even if they were wearing strong armor, they couldn't withstand the violent explosion. After the explosion, the Zichen Kingdom's warriors saw their companions blown to pieces. They didn't hesitate at all and rushed to the city wall. Among the Zichan kingdom's warriors who were blown away by the airflow, some of them fell to the ground and immediately got up. Some of them were lying motionless on the ground. No one knew if they were dead or unconscious. Dozens of casualties didn't matter to an army of thousands, let alone the well-trained Zichan kingdom's warriors. Just like how they had besieged Snow City before, these people suddenly spread out and began to surround the small city in two directions. Because the city was small, the Zichan kingdom's warriors were more concentrated. Soon, they jumped onto the city wall and started slaughtering the martial artists on the city wall. In fact, with their armor, the Zichan kingdom's warriors could directly fly into the city. But this way, the city would fall into chaos. It would take them more time to clean up. The martial artists in the city gathered on the city wall, which was exactly what they wanted. On the city wall, there were angry shouts and screams. But no one begged for mercy, because these martial artists knew that even if they knelt down and begged for mercy, these ferocious aliens wouldn't let them go. It was a massacre because more than 99% of the people on the city wall were below rank 5. A quasi-meteor warrior of the Zichan kingdom was equivalent to a rank 8 martial artist. They were also wearing strong armor. Chapter 166. Yang Tian quickly woke up. After losing the Dragon Ball and forcefully increasing his realm, Yang Tian felt weak and powerless. At this time, even moving would cause him to feel pain all over his body. However, Yang Tian still took a deep breath and stood up. What appeared in front of Yang Tian were the corpses of the Zichan kingdom's warriors. The cold wind carried tiny ice particles, almost burying these corpses. If he left these corpses alone, they would soon be frozen in the ice and be preserved for a long time. As soon as Yang Tian moved, the little blue dragon opened its eyes. The little blue dragon that had been revived already had a lot of power. The reason why it was lying down without moving was to rest. After fighting with dozens of Zichan kingdom's warriors, it had used up a lot of energy. The little blue dragon swayed its dragon whiskers and raised its head. When it stood up, Yang Tian could only raise his head to look at it. Phew, Yang Tian smiled and let out a long breath. He turned around and looked to the north. In his mind, he was thinking about the city that was besieged by the Zichan kingdom's warriors. He wondered how those people were doing. Roar! At this time, the little blue dragon raised its head and roared. It was a roar as if it was venting. Next, the little blue dragon flew into the sky, turned around, opened its mouth, and spat out the Dragon Ball. Yang Tian looked at the little blue dragon with confusion. He didn't know what it wanted to do. Previously, the little blue dragon's Dragon Ball was blood red and bright. But after fusing with Yang Tian's Dragon Ball, it became red with a tinge of black. He didn't know what happened. What was even more amazing was that the Dragon Ball could change its size. When it was in Yang Tian's body, it could become a small dot. But when it was in the little blue dragon's mouth, it could become the size of a soccer ball. Yang Tian opened his eyes wide as he looked at the Dragon Ball that was red with a tinge of black. Sizzle. Boom. Suddenly, the two dragon horns of the little blue dragon lit up and an electric current appeared. The two electric currents gathered together and struck the floating Dragon Ball. Roar! When this powerful electric current struck the Dragon Ball, the little blue dragon suddenly raised its head and roared. Its voice was hoarse, and it should be in great pain. After calling out, the little blue dragon lowered its head again and looked at the Dragon Ball in front of it. At this moment, the Dragon Ball was surrounded by circles of electricity, making crackling noises. Yang Tian's eyes were wide open, and he was very curious. Boom! The little blue dragon opened its mouth again and spat out a scorching flame that landed on the Dragon Ball. This time, the little blue dragon felt the same pain. Its body that was suspended in the air couldn't help but roll a few times. Yang Tian furrowed his brows. He had a hunch that the little blue dragon's actions would cause great harm to itself. Xiaolong, what are you doing? Yang Tian asked loudly. Only then did he remember the look in the little blue dragon's eyes just now. There was hesitation and determination in those eyes. The little blue dragon did not answer Yang Tian. At this time, the blood-red Dragon Ball that had been roasted by the scorching flame not only had electric current on it, but it also had flames inside it. After completing these 2 steps, the little blue dragon approached the Dragon Ball and stared at the Dragon Ball without moving. Soon, the Dragon Ball changed. It was like a huge water droplet that was divided into 2, one big and one small. The big one was still as big as a football, and the small one was only the size of a thumb. However, the colors of the 2 Dragon Balls were different. The small one was darker, and the big one was redder. What was similar was that the surface of these 2 Dragon Balls was surrounded by electric currents, and there were scorching flames flowing inside. The little blue dragon opened its mouth, took the big Dragon Ball, and closed its mouth. The small Dragon Ball was still suspended in the air. No matter how stupid Yang Tian was, he understood that the little blue dragon was dividing the Dragon Ball into one big and one small. In this way, Yang Tian could once again possess great power, and the little blue dragon's life would not be in danger. Looking at the Xiaolong Dragon Ball, Yang Tian did not touch it. After the little blue dragon took back the Dragon Ball, its body quickly shrank. Soon, it returned to its usual size of more than a foot, becoming a mini dragon. Yang Tian felt that the little blue dragon was still the cutest at this time, because after the little blue dragon became bigger, Yang Tian felt that it had grown up. Most people like young animals. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The shrunken little blue dragon jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder and cried out. After understanding the little blue dragon's words, Yang Tian nodded. Next, Yang Tian controlled the remaining power of the Dragon Ball in his body and circulated it in his body. After doing the preparation work that the little blue dragon said, Yang Tian opened his mouth and the Xiaolong Dragon Ball flew into his mouth and disappeared. At this moment, Yang Tian controlled the remaining power of the Dragon Ball in his body, wrapped the Xiaolong Dragon Ball, and entered his Dragon Ball space. This made Yang Tian feel very strange. He didn't know how the Dragon Ball and the Dragon Ball space existed in his body. Just thinking about it made him feel very mysterious. ZZZZ. When the Dragon Ball entered the Dragon Ball space, the Dragon Ball actually began to emit bright electric currents. These electric currents immediately filled the Dragon Ball space. At this time, Yang Tian's body couldn't help but tremble. An energy containing electric currents entered his body from the Dragon Ball space, causing Yang Tian's body to feel numb. There was no pain, instead, it was very comfortable. Previously, Yang Tian's body was still in constant pain, but after being electrocuted, the pain in his body disappeared. At this time, in Yang Tian's Dragon Ball space, in addition to electric currents, there were also hot flames. Compared to the electric currents, this white flame seemed to be very honest. It was just like a liquid swimming in the middle of the Dragon Ball. Yang Tian looked at it and used the power of the Dragon Ball to repair his stinging body. After having the Dragon Ball, Yang Tian felt that he had become stronger again. His strength, if he used the power of the Dragon Ball, should be comparable to the Star King of the Meteor Star. From fusing with the little blue dragon's Dragon Ball until now, it seemed like he had returned to the starting point. However, Yang Tian knew that the Dragon Ball in his body had undergone a great change. The power it emitted was no longer as simple as before. His Dragon Ball's power could contain electric currents and flames. With these 2 strange energies, the Dragon Ball's power would be even more aggressive. Xiaolong, let's go. Let's go to Ice Snow City. Yang Tian, who had recovered his strength, frowned and gritted his teeth. At this time, Yang Tian still didn't know that Ice Snow City had been destroyed and that thousands of Purple Chun Empire soldiers were attacking Weibo City. ZZ, the little blue dragon excitedly cried out twice and transformed into a huge dragon again. Yang Tian jumped onto the little blue dragon's back. The little blue dragon swam a few times in the air, grabbed the formation plate with its claws, and flew towards the north. Chapter 167. After an hour or so, Yang Tian was walking on the streets of the Ice Snow City. The little blue dragon was lying on his shoulder. Both Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were looking at the city with their eyes wide open. The once prosperous ice-snow city had become a dead city. Even now, there was still black smoke coming out of the city. It could be seen from far away. The city was filled with human corpses. In this cold season, these corpses were frozen stiff. Some of the corpses still had expressions of anger, despair, and fear. Seeing this, Yang Tian's eyes were about to pop out. He gritted his teeth, and his eyes were filled with anger. We came too late. Yang Tian looked at the incomplete human corpses on the ground. After a long silence, he sighed and blamed himself with a frown. Among these corpses, there were many old people, children, and even pregnant women. Yang Tian didn't think that the Zichan kingdom would be so cruel. So this is how the strong races clean up the weak in the universe. Creak, creak. The little blue dragon called out twice. There was anger in its voice. In the silent city, there was no one alive. Suddenly, a woman's scream came from the front. Yang Tian opened his eyes and immediately ran toward the direction of the scream. Soon, Yang Tian arrived at the entrance of a movie theater in the ice-snow city. A woman ran out from the movie theater. Her clothes were messy. The scream just now must have come from this woman. At this time, behind this young woman, there was a warrior from the Zichan kingdom who wasn't wearing a helmet. He was chasing after this woman with a cold smile. This warrior seemed to be doing it on purpose. With his strength, he could have caught up with this young woman in an instant. But he just walked quickly as if he was enjoying the process of chasing after his prey. Yang Tian squinted his eyes. This person deserved to die. All the warriors from the Zichan kingdom that stayed on Earth deserved to die. In the blink of an eye, Yang Tian appeared in front of the Zichan Empire's warrior. Seeing Yang Tian in front of him, the Zichan kingdom's soldier was stunned, but after recognizing Yang Tian's appearance, he turned around and fled. They had already witnessed Yang Tian's prowess on the Antarctic ice field. They were deeply afraid of Yang Tian. The Zichan Empire's soldier turned around and wanted to escape, but Yang Tian grabbed his neck. Zzz, zzz, zzz. Yang Tian exerted his strength, and white electric sparks appeared on Yang Tian's arm, as well as the body of the Zichan Empire's warrior. Being attacked by the powerful electric current, the Zichan kingdom's warrior's body started to tremble. His eyes rolled back. Green smoke rose from his body as his skin slowly cracked open. Blood seeped out from the cracks. The Zichan kingdom's warrior who was grabbed by the neck couldn't say anything. He could only let out a groan. Yang Tian grabbed him and gently lifted him up. At this time, the Zichan kingdom's warrior was almost out of breath. His body became soft. Boom! The warrior's body suddenly started to burn. Yang Tian was shocked and immediately let go of the body that had turned black. The body that was let go by Yang Tian was still burning. In a few breaths, it turned into a pile of black ashes. The armor on it was also burned black. Yang Tian was stunned when he saw the pile of black armor under his feet and the smoking remains of the corpses. Just as Yang Tian expected, his dragon orb now had the power of lightning and fire. Bam! At this time, the door of the theater was pushed open. A group of people dressed in purple armor rushed out from inside. After they rushed out, they didn't dare to stop. Without any hesitation, they ran in all directions. Xiaolong, kill them! Yang Tian said with a cold smile as he looked at the Zichan kingdom's warriors who wanted to run away. Creak, creak. The little blue dragon cried out excitedly and turned into a green shadow as it rushed toward the Zichan kingdom's warrior who was running the furthest. The little blue dragon didn't even need to transform to deal with these Zichan kingdom's warriors. Yang Tian moved and appeared in front of one of the Zichan kingdom's warriors and punched him in the chest. Pung! The Zichan kingdom's warrior's eyes were filled with fear as he quickly flew back. Pung! While he was in the air, the power that Yang Tian poured into his body instantly caused his body to explode. Bang! 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 In the eyes of the young woman that Yang Tian saved, Yang Tian's body turned into a blur as he kept sending the Zichan kingdom's warriors flying. It was as if a bomb had been placed in their bodies as they suddenly exploded and their flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Seeing this, the young woman wasn't afraid. Instead, She was very excited and almost couldn't help but cheer. Weibo City. Peng. Zheng Delong's strong body was sent flying by a Meteor Star Warrior's punch. His body hit a concrete wall, and he fainted. Zheng Delong was only a rank 7 warrior, while this Meteor Star Warrior was equivalent to a rank 9 warrior. Naturally, he wasn't a match for him. When the Meteor Star Warrior saw Zheng Delong vomiting blood and closing his eyes on the ground, he immediately picked up his sword and rushed toward the next warrior. At this time, the battle in Weibo City had reached its climax. Thousands of Zichen Kingdom's warriors had already chased the warriors on the city walls into the city. On the high city walls, there were already broken corpses of the warriors. Blood flowed down the walls and dyed the walls red. The warriors in the city were much stronger than in Ice Snow City, but strength overpowered everything. Up until now, the Zichen Kingdom's warriors had only lost about 100 people, including the explosion outside the city. As for the warriors in the city, there were already more than 5,000 casualties. As for the normal civilians who didn't have any fighting power, there were even more casualties. Li Junyang led more than 100 young warriors. They were all angry as they gritted their teeth and watched the battle in front of them. They were very close to the south gate. The Zichen Kingdom's warriors were only 100 meters away from them. There were fewer and fewer warriors blocking the Zichen Kingdom's warriors. It looked like they would all be killed soon. "Boss, I'll go." At this time, a 15 or 16-year-old boy walked over and gritted his teeth. "No." Li Junyang raised his hand and stopped him. "I'm the one who organized this. I'll take the lead." The boy pressed down Li Junyang's hand and smiled. "Boss, you're the leader of the junior class. You'll be the last to die." After the boy said that, he turned his head and looked at his companions with a faint smile. The 100 or so youths looked at him and nodded seriously. Whoosh, after the boy turned around, he didn't hesitate and rushed forward. "Zhao Hai." Li Junyang looked at the boy's rushing figure and reluctantly reached out his hand as he called out in a low voice. "You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.